welcome back to the Geometric View, episode 29, season 3, where we get into transient luminous events, TLEs, upper atmospheric lightning or ionospheric lightning, sprites, elves, blue jets, galactic jets, global electric circuits, and much, much more. How does space lightning become telluric currents in the Earth? I'm your host, Buddy James. Strap in. Here we go.
Please support us on our Patreon link below.
Share my entire screen here. We just need to start this episode with a prayer.
You want to lead it, or?
If you could.
I'll do it. All right. Dear Lord and gracious Heavenly Father, creator of all things, that come to you in grace and in need and in thankfulness, because everything that we thank for today, we are going to receive. And we come to you in thankful hearts. We come with grateful minds. We come with a collective mind. And I ask that you be with Buddy in the midst of his tribulations. It seems to be something that's going the washing of the people that are coming to your light, that are being subjected to these tribulations. We ask, dear Lord, that you'd build us with strength in your will, in all things, in your precious love, in your issuance of the Christos, Yeshua HaMashiach, through the Ruach HaKodesh, and all things from Yahweh, and to the unnamed. That just before all things, and after all things are gone, we bring all our pleas and our prayers and our thankfulness to you. Amen.
Amen. It is done.
It is done. Word in Hebrew, you'll love this. The word in Hebrew means tetelestai. That is the last thing that Christ yelled out on the cross. It means it is finished. Tetelestai.
Tetelestai.
Telestai, for the testimony is done. That's what it's saying. The telestai. I love the feeling I get and the goosebumps I get every time I say that word. But that means that it's finished. You claim it. You know, it's like a stamp, like a seal. Like when Pontius Pilate wrote that out, you know, and he says, hey, you can't write he's the king of the Jews. And he says, I wrote what I wrote. You know, I love that answer.
In meetings sometimes I'll say, yeah, I'm listening, but I'm not writing it down.
Yes, indeed. It's not written in stone. There's a meaning for that. Do you know when I did the painting on my Facebook page, it has the Christ, you know, it's 6 foot tall by 4 foot wide, the Christ the King painting I'm standing next to. It took me a whole year to finish that. 6 months of it, I was just completely stupid, wondering how in the heck I ended up the idiot at the other end of the brush. I swear to goodness, I was like, there's no way I'm actually painting this and it's happening. I felt like I was watching a cartoon or you know, the Bob Ross show when I had, you know, the soul seat sometimes. But in reality, it got held up for 6 months because I wouldn't finish the plaque at the top. You know, that was at the time when papyrus come into being. And everybody started writing on paper, papyrus paper. And so, you know, I kept seeing all these pictures of the Inri carved in stone, wood, and nailed above the cross. And I thought to myself over and over, I just couldn't commune with it. So I had to look it up in history and everything. But I found out, you know, that's how I found out the papyrus 200 years before, blah, blah, blah. And I thought to myself, I just can't see Pontius Pilate over there with a hammer and chisel knocking it out. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I wrote what I wrote. You know what I mean? I always pictured it like, you know, he just wrote it on a decree, and he wrote it in 3 different languages because he was a very learned man. You know, he wrote it in Latin, Greek, and Aramaic. So, you know, it was Diax Redrum Jesus Nazarenus. Here's King. I love that one the best, the Latin version of it. But
Thank
you.
you.
Great way to start the show off, man.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thank you. I love the prayer. I'm in it most of the time. You know that the word sloth, seeing as we're on cool stuff Aramaic and starting off the show with the bang, the word slotha, with the AH at the end, the slotha, is actually the frequency of prayer. It's actually the love frequency of thankfulness and prayer. And so think about it, that the guy in Sloth, who's being ridiculed by the guy walking by because he's in Slotha, right? He's just sitting there, to the guy walking by as the observer. He's doing absolutely nothing. So he's basically ridicules him, tells him to get a job, tell him to get up at loitering, and doesn't even know that maybe the guy's praying for him.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's I blew my mind when I thought of that. We look at Sloth as as a downgrade. You know what I mean? Oh, you're doing Sloth, but actually that's the most beautiful place to be, if you ask me, is in prayer. But that's my contribution to the beginning of the show. Buddy, you want to take over, bro?
Thank you for that, Brian, and it's good to be here with you, Chris, and have everybody here together. Today's episode is going to be intense as I continue to transcend space with jellyfish plasma. Yeah, we had an episode, and I really don't know how to get into it, or if I should, or how to start, or where to begin, or where to end. But nonetheless, I'm here, I'm alive, and it's really good to be alive, and it's really good to hear your guys' voice. So
glad to be here.
Space jellyfish. That's what we're gonna do today. It is transient luminous events, and the geometry inside of the Dougherty set here is this is particularly the same geometry as Edward Lidinsky, whoever the guy, Coral Castle. If you do the curl right here,
Ledskinen.
Thank you for that. I always get it wrong. I need to hear the correct pronunciation. Ledskinen. So
that's
there's
how I pronounce it. I don't know if that's correct, but that's how it's spelled.
Everyone's got their own way to pronounce it because no one knows how.
Spice of life.
So that coil, his secret to his magnetic coil, is right here, seen inside this space jellyfish. I don't know exactly what picture this is. I'm gonna get into this photo because I want to see what it is. But transient luminous, it does indeed. So I'll click on it here and see what it turns into. And global electric circuit, the global electric circuit, and how energies move through the whole entire solar circuit and the heliopause, and our connection to space lightning, and because this is space lightning that comes up here. I'm probably just gonna, I don't have to play a video. Maybe I'll try not to get a copyright strike on this video for a change. But what they are here is they exist at different altitudes of different layers of the mesosphere, the thermosphere, and this is a good picture here, the ionosphere. There's elves, halos, sprites, blue jets, gigantic jets. Oh, I haven't heard of these ones. Ooh, pixies, blue starters, gnomes. Look at this. If this isn't the most Irish thing I've ever heard in my life, with little dancing fairies in the forest or in the sky. This,
I think, buddy, that if you really dig into the mythology of all of this, that there's very deep secrets. That it's all couched as myth and fancifulness, but there's deep secrets in all that stuff, and gnomes, and that are for us to uncover and to pave the future.
You know what? There is indeed, and we talked about this on a couple of our episodes with Heather Stargazer. She pointed out to me that there's these otic runes.
Yep.
Otic runes. And I'm such a slow typer. Forgive me, I didn't get much sleep last night either. But they're otic. Why isn't it? It used to come up. Nordic otic rune. Let's add Nordic in there too. But it's not Nordic, I don't think. Odin runes? Odin runes? No. Oh, is that them? It has these hatches. And the hatches on the runes correspond with different transluminous events and auroras in the sky as crosshatch marks. Anyway, so if people can find the Otic runes, it's a good spot to go look for. What's important about these is every rune correspond to a tree, and every tree corresponded to an aurora, a different auroral pattern. And it's like different types of transluminous events that they're talking about. If auroras are included in transluminous events, maybe not. But either way, it's like auroral. So we were talking about this, and I was talking about, and I've been talking about how trees, each individual tree is a wrapped up double helix sexed pair of a quaternion filament that comes off of the sun. And it becomes alive by bouncing off of the ionosphere and the Whistler and helical waves inside of the Van Allen belts, and it comes down onto the Earth and rains through the Earth as these energies and these patterns and these sounds, go back to the beginning of vocabulary, the beginning of our languages. I'm just going to point you again to Heather Stargazer. Heathen Stargazers is her YouTube channel. Let's pull it up here.
While you're doing that, buddy, are you versed in Microvita at all, and the 10 commandments as 10 primordial sounds? So this is a Vedic?
No, I'm not.
Okay. I'll send you, or I'll attach one to the chat, a paper Microvita. But that's kind of what Heart Math Institute, the science that they're founded in is Vedic.
Okay.
It's everything I'm doing with vortex-based math, believe it or not, is Vedic. It's Marco Rodin didn't create it.
Oh no. Yeah, he helped. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's only got one leg of a three-legged stool in Phi, in Fibonacci. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have what's missing from everything that he does is the symmetry and the growth and decay, the scale part of it. He's got the proportion in Phi, and that's primarily what that doubling halving sequence is Phi dampening. But yeah, all this stuff ties in perfectly.
Yep, it is Phi dampening. The whole thing is Phi dampening, and it dampens inside of those cylindrical columns and geodesics. Mm-hmm. On harmonic scales that we, like the stuff that we've been talking about from the beginning here.
Yep.
And it is a global electric circuit, and it reaches to the sun and beyond and forever. And this is both amazing, awe-inspiring, and frightening, because this is like affirmation of like eternal life, or like strands of like plasma and nucleation and like memories and like recording the memory and dispersing bodies and manifold, and like it scares the bejesus out of different people, you know. It should, as well as thunder and lightning should.
Yes.
It has that fear factor to it to make you get up and move and do something.
Yeah, I think it's an analog to, with great power comes great responsibility. That's essentially the dichotomy you're looking at. That's great power, and with it, everybody knows fundamentally, internally, there's great responsibility that comes with holding these perspectives and this power is, and those 10 vowels too, because the key to all of this is
Oh,
the correct
Mother, how?
What's that?
What's that? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
I can hear you.
It sounds like a dog growling.
It's actually a cat. Sorry. I have my cat on me. I'm just going in with the computer. I switched to the phone now. Wait a second. Yeah.
Hey, Maximilian.
Do you know who this is? Can this person live identify themselves?
Yeah, this is Maximilian here.
No, not Maximilian. This person, CID live E9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
All right. Well, there's.
Second. I'm connecting with the computer. Of course, it doesn't work well on the phone.
I'm just curious who this person is here. I don't know who. Not you, Maximilian. Oh, he left.
Hello, is it me?
Oh, there. Yeah, you.
Oh, sorry, I just changed name in Skype and I got a weird name. Sorry.
It's okay. What's your name, sir?
My name is Chris.
Chris.
I talked to you on Facebook a week ago. Hello.
Oh, okay. Awesome, Chris.
Hey.
Do you have content you'd like to present or show off today, or I might have invited you on for a certain purpose. I forget. I talked to a lot of people.
No, I was just gonna hang out in the background.
Okay.
Sneak around. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here, Chris.
Thanks.
All right. That sucks. Maximilian left. I was trying to ask who Chris. Okay.
Hello? Buddy, your mic is muted. If you can hear me.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I thought it was just me. I'm just sitting there patiently waiting.
That's all right.
I'm just sitting there. I'm like, okay, this is something here. That's cool pictures.
I think Maximilian will be back. I think he's having computer issues.
All right, cool. All right, guys. I don't know how long ago I got muted, but whatever. We're back. Thank you for your patience through my mute there. So what I was saying is, imagine being a person down here and you're swirling and working with breath work, and you're moving your hands in the air and you're focusing on clouds and the energy and the environment, and you automatically start feeling it. You start charging up both the environment and you. We are a capacitor in some respect, in some regard, as we're also a transceiver. We can transmit and receive these energies. And these are cold plasmas. These are all cold up here. Well, at some stages they're cold. I don't think they're all cold. But they're extremely fast. We're going to show some videos of them. As humans, we're getting better and better at getting pictures of them and videos and setting our cameras and things like that. So, I know I've seen these above thunderstorms, but it's super hard to see it. It's just like really fast blue or pink lightning almost. I've even seen them in a snowstorm where it was changing colors. The lightning was changing colors. So this is, I'm going to call this space jellyfish. And I wrote
I've been in a snowstorm, actually. Oh, good. And one, like, we used to from the Upper Peninsula, and right out of the Garden Bay. And we used to take this dock out. And one day, we had a green storm coming. You know, it was green. The electricity in the air, I've never seen this before after to this extent. But you literally don't, that's how we knew to get out of the water. We actually, as you dove into the water and come up out of the water, your hair looked absolutely, Jack Nicholson, your hair was just straight out and looked completely dry. and you literally like you just pull your head out and so I stuck one of the two people that pull the dock back and hope that I didn't get electrocuted. But it's intense when you feel that. I mean, our arm involved.
Brian, can you go somewhere else? You're breaking up severely. I don't know if it's just your signal. Maybe go to a better spot and try to find a better signal.
I will do that. Thank you. That was all I had to say.
Yeah, because most of that was unintelligible. But we're gonna continue here. All right. These pictures are amazing, and look at these pinches. Here's a pinch, here's a pinch, here's a pinch, here's a pinch. There's a head, there's a cephalization to it, there's a tail, there's definitely a direction, a vector. And so these red sprites, particularly up in the ionosphere and the mesosphere.
Buddy?
Yeah.
Can you speak to the troughs and the crests of those waves and the distances between the different phases you see in the red and blue curves going up from the bottom to top? The wave.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just in terms of the scales, what's on the vertical and horizontal scales of that graph?
Okay. Well, it looks like we have it looks like we have an altitude over here, altitude on the right-hand side, and we have the temperature. Oh no, that's the thermosphere.
No, it's temperature. Temperature's at the bottom. You can see temperature at the bottom scale.
Oh, yep, there it is. Okay,
so that's fascinating to me because my whole thing is about temperature and pressure, altitude being analog to pressure.
Yes.
What yin yang really is temperature and pressure transmuting into each other in a dynamic, constant frequency. Well, not constant frequency, but.
I will agree 100%. That's what Walter Russell said. That's what all the maps are showing. It's pressure and the release of pressure. It is compression and rarefaction, and we've been saying that from the beginning. That's all it is. It's really simple once you just understand it. It is
incredibly simple, buddy.
Incredibly.
And it's alive. Let's not forget that part. It's actually breathing. And that's the dumbfounding thing of the cosmos is the fact that, they got their equipment out there and they're like, is it coming or going? It's doing both. You're absolutely right.
It's coming and going simultaneous.
It's breathing. And when we come to those terms that it's a living universe, that it is one verse. It is the same as the passage of our fluids and our energy. Like they just found out about the lymphatic system. Wow, that controls the lymphatic system. You know what I mean? So we're going to find out that this is a living. When we can come to that, we will understand not to harm it. That is the beginning of literally of our change of consciousness.
That will be understanding that crystals are alive.
Yes, that it's a living consciousness. Yeah. It's a living conscious.
I think, Chris, actually, I think a lot of people have understood and do understand that crystals are alive.
This is not mainstream.
Yeah, from the past, like maybe 100 years or so of people pushing it. And I think it's even beyond that. It's how to crystallize your plasma as essence and reach out to other places. And that's what it means to ascend. That when someone ascends, they literally go. I mean, there is an order. There's an order here, an order of Melchizedek. Melchizedek is Jesus. Isn't the end all be all. We made like a lot of stuff in the Western religion about it. He even said, my father and I are one. Don't worship me. We're one. Don't worship. There's an order. Jesus said there's an order, and he came in the order of Melchizedek. It's in the New Testament and the Old Testament. And this order, you have to look up this order. What's the order? Go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say it in Hebrew, what you say, because they call that blaspheme. But in Hebrew, he was saying, I and the Father are Yahweh. So what he says, if you look at Yahweh, Yahweh simply means here now. So what he's saying is the testimony is the fact that I am the Father. Thank you. I am living. The Father is here with me now.
Trinity,
He's saying you're being blasphemous. He says, no, I'm trying to tell you, idiots, that he's here with me. I can't be here without him here with me because I'm here now. He's here now. To both the testimony of that we are living. Since I am living, you are. There's no two ways about it. Since I am, you will. That's what he was trying to say. And so he was saying Yahweh. And if you look at Ruach HaKodesh, that is the essence of what? The breath of life. So the Yeshua HaMashiach is what? The issuance of the message. So that's what he's saying. I am here now with the Father. He wasn't being blasphemous at all. He was being absolutely grammatically correct, scientifically correct, physics correct. You know what I mean? He was just...
Look at these. Right? These are angels. You can see them. They all look like angels. Angels are completely...
are the Dougherty set. Angels are your Dougherty set, bro.
Angels surround the throne, and angels surround the throne according to the geometry of the New Jerusalem in the Dougherty set. With their heads bowed down towards the center as the throne. And the throne is hollow.
Energy curves in a certain way. The blue light curves up because it's carefree. The red light curves down because it had weighted value. That's your AUG. Your eye even shows you that. Your AUG light comes through the eye at a DC current value and drops into the lower retinal cavity. Your upper eye takes on the UV and the blue light and separates it like that. So, I mean, everything as above, as below, as is within, as without, as seen, as unseen.
This is the higher elf up here, and all of the creatures are surrounding the throne. Okay, and there's a wheel within a wheel here. It's a torus. They're all surrounding and centering this central event. And I can go to more, and they have eyeballs and faces. They have bilateral symmetry, just like electricity tends to work through all efficient systems, living and moving them in Lichtenberg-like figures.
Oh, interesting. You talk about the electricity attached to it. There's your Boston symbol. That's the symbol for Boston's album, right there. But I want to go with the electricity value, what you just said. The 2 can't survive without the 3, and if you got 3, you begot 4. And therefore, you can understand the Zeitgate. It's what we talk about, which controls the jets, which ruling house we're in. Because you can't have 2 forms of electricity without the 3rd. All right, then if you got the 3rd, you have to have a quantification of it, which is called a plane. Then you have the 4th. And once you got the 4th, you can GPS a coordinate of whenever those 3 are at, wherever they're at. You can't separate the 2 from the 3 and the 3 from the 4. And therefore, you get the 12. That's the raw electricity right there in a nutshell.
Love it.
And the harmonics. The field equation going from my magnetic repulsive motor called Magnetisphere actually runs on the harmonics of the 12-point, but it runs to an 8-point symmetry because of the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That's what Tesla knew as well. If you take and bind, it'll come back.
So, this all ties into all living creatures stabilizing them through the hydroelectromycelial network. This is a water electric grid that keeps itself stabilized with every fart of every creature, of every body's metabolism. They're not necessarily codependent or interrelated because there's certain, like, for example, there's a salamander that sat in the same spot for 7 years and it never moved to eat once, and we just saw it wiggle for the first time. 7 years not moving. Okay, that's crazy. There's things like that happening on the earth we don't know about that are in their own little cavities. You know, frogs that are inside of rocks right now all over, fish that are inside of rocks that just might even live through panspermia, you know, into the space. So, but speaking of space, our atmosphere is a plasma and space is a plasma, and it's filled with bacteria, and so is space. And we're getting rained on by tails of other planets. They're called birkeland currents. And the dust that's coming from these other planets has tailspin, and that's why we feel it as the planets align and Mercury retrograde. And you know, I was never really into any of that astrology, but this is really proving it. You know, these Bessel functions, and
we're hooked together. We are all hooked together on your note on that. Yeah. Everything in my research has brought us together that we're literally hooked to the sun like a mobile, and all that plasma energy is, like you said, it's going from one to another. So just like you're in a bumper car in that little tiny track, you know what I mean? It sticks to the top on that whole fence up there, and your bottom end is part of the plate on the bottom, and that's what causes the thing. We're kind of the same way, and we dance within each other's energies. And that's why I've talked to Chris about the idea, you know what I mean, when he brought up that each planet has its own, basically its own Rhoda stone, you know what I mean? Its own Rhoda square. So when you look at that, those energies play, and that's why certain numbers have certain energies at a certain time of the year. Because we can't, as we're going round and round and round, we are all touched and unified through the symbiosis of that plasmatic energy, as you said with those birkeland currents. We can't get away from it. There's no, and until we understand that, we're going to understand that we're harming every planet when we harm our own, you know. And why should we go to Mars until we get our own right? That's my take on it.
Well, it's electric universe, and it's an electric future. And in electric futurism, which is headed by the global technocracy and the technium, the ambrosia of that is going to be ultimately I don't really want to go where I was going with that, so I'm just going to change the subject and start talking about geometry of nucleation and nucleosynthesis, and how the plasma works so centrifugally and centripetally, so fine to a T, in these spires and the umbra and the penumbra of the sun. We can see these filaments, and the sun is just bearing a load. That's all it's doing. That load can shift, and it can light up another planet in our system, and we can become binary again. That's what I'm talking about. All it is about weight bearing loads, and the amount of the size of the source. The center of the sun could be a tiny little solid with a hollow. It could be just a shell, like a spherical shell.
Buddy,
yeah.
Have you looked at Faraday's model in detail? Because he's got that center hole in the very center of that cone that passes through. It's just perfection, man.
Look at these wave amplitudes.
It's that Planck hole.
Yeah, look at these wave amplitudes and the Bessel function right here.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's at the pinch, just like the pinch of the sprites that we were looking at. They pinch, and I can take my golden mean caliper and show you that this hole right here, the center of that hole, to the center of that hole, to the center of that hole is phi. And this circle to this circle to this circle is phi. And so that's a phi puddle. It's like a toroidal puddle.
And what creates that pinch, buddy, is the polarities of 3 and 6. The flux of the 3 and 6 polarities is what creates the twist, right? That binds 3 and 6 through 9 as an axis of spin symmetry.
Well, what if I were to tell you that it doesn't only use those numbers, and those
are because it's using the family number groups that are embedded in those numbers.
Right, but those are first fundamentals. So the fundamentals, the first fundamental geometry precipitates throughout all of the geometry. It is how cells divide. This large filament right here is literally the magnetohydrodynamic filament of how cells multiply in binary sequence, in binary code, and ones and zeros of computer language as well.
Yeah, it's all digital root.
Yes, it's all digital root.
Yeah, that's what vortex-based math is. It's all digital root. It's essence of number, not weigh, measure, count number.
Yes.
Numbers are gods.
Thank you for reminding me of that digital root. I keep forgetting about that, because that's what the whole thing is. And without the reminder of that, that's why we're here, to tell people about this and how it works.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. And
that's why people spend their entire lives reducing their Torah, right, to digital roots, and their number 216, which is center in creation of the 108, the number of beads on the rosary, that angle.
Yep.
And that's really what drives, creating the infinity from 0 through the 1. The lemniscate. The lemniscate and Mobius are all what. See, that's what I have. Is I have the engine to all this in cyclical number. It's what makes it move. It's what makes it spin. It's what creates chirality.
Yes, and the difference of chirality or chirality, I was taught it was chirality, so I always say that, but it's CH, so chirality.
Buddy, words mean nothing to me. Right?
No, I'm just saying either way, potato, but that's just for the listeners. So chirality. Okay, this is the most important thing of the entire system, because all living things are the same chirality, one chirality, including all of the processes that come out of the living beings, like honey comes out of bees, urine or milk or cheese. It all has the same chirality. And I learned this, and I've said this before on my show a few times, from Radiolab. You can go to Radiolab and look up their episode on chirality, and it's great. But they teach you and show you that, like, everything that's not moving that chirality that we consider non-living matter, like rocks and different things like that, they all have the other handedness or other chirality.
Right-handed.
So check that.
Right-handed is red, left-handed is blue.
Yes.
And one is life, and one is, it's not unconscious, but it's not life. It's still conscious, right? But it is not creative.
Sorry, I got disrupted for a second. What was that?
I was saying in terms of spin, the right and left spin of chirality is one is life and one is not death. It's conscious, but it's not creative, right? The one spin is creative, the other it's Shiva Shakti, creation, destruction, continuous.
Well, I think what's really strange is that one half of this is one filament, okay, one braided sexed pair, one mate of braided sexed pair, and how this happens here is this part of the, if I could go in here, this part of the filament, for example, would be blue. That blue would be considered male. And that's men. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now this side would be pink and braided this way. That's females. no colors or biases aside, I'm just saying one's male, one's female.
Essence.
That happens in all of the creatures based off of hierarchical stacking and layering of these helical networks. And yeah, the essence of that is life. Life comes out of it as a natural construct. It is the excretion of the whole system of the electromagnetic spectrum to push out all of it, including the sprites and all other energy forms, into the living manifested material matter. That's why people who cling onto their body and cleave to their body are afraid of something or have not been able to transcend beyond the limitations of the physical death, or they're afraid because they know that there's something coming and something larger out there, and they've done bad things and they're unrepentant. It takes an unrepentant heart, literally an unrepentant heart, to access it takes a repentant heart to access these greater levels and higher spiritual plateaus and planes of these real, animate, living, hierarchical beings. If you want to dance with the elves, it does not take drugs. It takes breath work and dancing and out in nature or wherever you feel comfortable, even in your home. Your home, speaking of your home, should match your larger microbiome, your larger dominion, your larger should match all the way down to the tiniest little detail of your favorite beautiful thing that you like to look at. It should be reflective of your soul, your spirit, your energy. It's not about the lack of having things that's mastering spirituality or having things that master spirituality. It's the appreciation and the taking care of those things, including living beings, life. Take care of it. If you can't, learn how to. Try. If you want to. If you can't, you need to warm your heart up, and you need to soften your heart up and learn that we all need to cry. There's a lot of stuff going on and we need to let it out. I've been mingling and hanging out with a lot of different people, and people are changing. This COVID is changing people. I'm seeing it everywhere I go. Lord, have mercy. I'm telling you, man.
People don't see the other side of the mirror. They focus on the negative because we're all programmed to focus on the negative. That's all we ever hear. They don't have the sense of the possibility that we do.
Dance in the sky. When you go to sleep at night, know that you're a luminous, transient living art crystal, living art piece. We are a living art piece, and we transcend artists every time. The largest effect that anybody has had on mankind has by far, I would say, well, I can't say fully, but most of the time it's artists.
Yeah.
Artists, because they don't give a fuck. They hide in their home. They will hobbit. It is the person who's willing to be a monk and just make it happen. Write what the Spirit is speaking to you. Listen to what the Spirit says to the churches. We are the 7 churches, and we need to start talking to each other about this light in the world, because all you hear is dark. All Netflix is dark. All these video games are dark. Everything's gone dark, and I'm not afraid of darkness. I'm not afraid of black. Okay, you color something black and put 3 X's on it, and it's all of a sudden toxic or poison, or, you know, black is the darkest, harshest cigarette. It's, you know, black is it's always, we use it for, you know, black goo with Lady Gaga, black, you know, which is what humans turn into when you melt them with acid. They turn into a black goo, which could be the black goo that they're speaking of. But who's they? It's us. We are us. Lady Gaga is us.
Yeah.
Trump is us. Wake up, people. We need to reach hearts, not work with sensationalism, sensationalizing and making things an event to cause an event, because we love chaos physics. It's just fractal patterns. Okay, you can do chaos physics for good. How about you go out there and do, how about we all go out there and do pay it forward movement? Where's that? Oh yeah, Kevin Spacey was in Pay It Forward. Oh, that ruins that movie. No, I'm not kidding. Kidding, not kidding.
No,
Kidding.
He's a piece of work, that guy.
So anyway, and the guy that played the angel in it, the guy who also played Jesus, that guy, Jim Caviezel, he turns down a lot of roles, you know, and he done got struck by lightning while he was filming the Passion of the Christ, and like, yeah, almost died and all these other things. But we can induce lightning. Sure, we can make the Vatican. Oh, a thunder struck the Vatican when we picked the new pope. Oh yeah, because you turned on your freaking your Tesla coil.
Yeah.
Okay. Bing.
Yeah. Well, actually, and I mentioned this before on this show, and one of these days I want to get my whiteboard set up so I can actually kind of tie it all together of Giza, the lightning, and the F sharp that we're in, that it literally takes a certain amount of hits, and I think it's like 1174. There has to be so many strikes of lightning in our field of the atmosphere, the ionosphere, and everything a year to keep us at this frequency exchange. So if we literally, and they're doing it mechanically, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I have no argument with ignorance. That's somebody else's. You know, I don't even go there. If you don't believe there's machines out there making mechanicalized weather, then you haven't been searching the patent office like Sunday cartoons, man. But that being said,
that's old news. Right. Continue.
Yes, this is guaranteed science that they are absolutely keeping us at a certain frequency. Therefore, they have to have a certain amount of lightning strikes. That means a lot of these storms are all induced. And I would say 74% of them or better are induced.
All they need to do is look up and see the goddamn chemtrails every day. It's right in their faces. Right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, chemtrails or no chemtrails, we're being bombarded with space dust from many different planets and cosmic germs and pathogens.
Faraday's out in Colorado, and he's already confirmed that the city that he's living in, I think Colorado Springs, coming just out of the mountains, that they actually came down to the little city he was in to let everybody know that, hey, guess what? We're going to be temperature weather, nothing you can do about it, but you can expect some really weird shit to happen. And we're just, you know, it's us. I mean, when you've literally got the patents that back that up, you have a guy that actually says, hey, well, they come to my city. You know what I mean? When you start adding all these variables together, it's just corruptive fact. It's not even a conspiracy theory anymore. It's just about putting the paper trail together. And that's all you got to do.
Fireworks.
Yeah, follow the money. There you go.
Talk about fireworks, baby. Here it is, 4th of July. There you are. Reach out into the heavens and become a universal creature. The only way we can do this and affect anybody is with love, literally. And I know there's a lot of, this isn't only a lovey-dovey circle of people. We talk about the nitty-gritty and we talk about other things too.
It's the frequency of it. It holds a frequency. If you love something, there's metered science, buddy, that says it's at 528 hertz. If you appreciate something, if there's a puppy out there, or wow, somebody hands you a gift, guess what? The first thing you go to in metered science, that's all this shit hooked to your head, is that you're going to be at 512 hertz. So this is what I come to, is metered science, therefore verifies that you can't love nothing you don't appreciate. Does that make sense? I mean, that's just fundamental math on it. I mean, we talk about this in geometric view. Let's look at the geometric view of love. That is in quadraphonics, man. That is literally the linguistics of it. If you don't appreciate it, you can't love it. So God says what? If thou sayest that you love me, that you love God, but you hate your brother, you're full of lies. And there's no two ways about it.
I'd like to add a word. Gratitude and attitude, right? There's no love without gratitude.
Thank you.
The Beatitudes, man, I personify them because I'm B, but you know, that is me, the Beatitudes. What are your Beatitudes? That's love, kindness. There's no law against these. Nobody can make a law against love and kindness and compassion, long-suffering, you know, endurance. There's no laws against these things. If we be these things, guess what? We're outside of the confines of law. Yes, we live within the confines of love and outside of law.
And the distinction between natural law and maritime law is germane too.
Thank you. That's why I was always talking about. See, people miss the whole thing. Did they come one if by land, two if by sea? Of course they came two if by sea. They came by maritime law. See, people think that really refers to a ship and a set of boots. No, you jackasses. They're coming by maritime, man. Everything is everything. Look up the Lost Sea Treaty. That would blow your mind. It's called the Lost.
What do you guys know? What do you know about? Oh, sorry. Continue. Lost Sea Treaty.
No. Go ahead, man. The Lost Sea Treaty points out of maritime.
What do you know about Maryland? Speaking of maritime,
I know somebody who's going back there.
Maryland.
The Maryland.
Tell us.
I'd rather not.
Okay.
Maybe there's a reason Brighton's not here today. Let's just say that.
Hey, you know that if it feels like it's a sketchy subject, you know what I mean. It'll present itself when it comes. Does that make sense?
I know. That's what I just had to say a little sly comment. That's all I'm saying.
No.
It's related to Mary Magdalene. That's the Rosicrucian. That's.
Maryland. Maryland is Rosicrucian. Maryland. Mary.
Yes, absolutely.
That's yeah. Okay.
That would fit.
Well, we were already told that, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
I want to divulge and share with everybody. Maybe it'll be a cliffhanger for next episode and the listeners.
Let's do that. Let's do that. I mean, it's again, it's all about care not the hour at a time, for the words will be given in this moment, and let it be that moment if that's what you feel, bro.
Yeah, that's how I totally live.
Yeah, we should. Thank you. Those are the next words out of my mouth. That's how I live, and we should conduct the show that way, because to me, I love unbridled energy that comes out of the show, and the fact it can go to any degree. And no matter what, it circumvents itself right back to the geometry of basically where we're talking now, of love.
Yeah. Well, this is weird because, like, all right. Is love if we think we're smart enough to pin love to a frequency, how can love be the entirety of the universe?
Well, all right, then do you want me to answer that?
Look, there's the squatter man right there. Right there. Did you see it?
Back it up.
And the skies. I'm backing it up. Is that Ramon I hear? Okay, he's going to stop it. They're going to pause it here. Oh, boom, 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 squatter man. Boom. And they have dots too. Look. Ah! I should just pause it.
Pause it. Look at all the symbols that you literally pick up from I mean, this is crazy, just the way you caught that.
Now I'm going to show us more plasmoids. All it is literally there's a cylindrical tube. It's moving in a cylindrical tube, charge. Remember, and it's the geodesic that it spins inside of these nested cylindrical columns. Really,
the unseen ones. If we could look at this as stacked glass, like 1 inch tube surrounded by a 1 1/4 inch tube of glass, by a 1 3/4. You're absolutely right, and they have to This is nuclear fusion, focused fusion. This is nuclear focused fusion in a nutshell. When I realized it,
transparent golden glass, transparent golden scaling. The center is gold. It's hollow. It always is, and that's what we measure all things off of from the center, the bilateral symmetry. So, and that's why I can't wait one episode when I can get into the 7 bowls of the 7 tubes that are leading to the bowl to light up the bowl. Yeah, you thought it was a yarmulke. No, not according to what I see inside of the Dougherty set and the research I've been working on. It's really cool. They're talking about the plasma. They're talking about the channels of how energy moves through plasma, and I can. It's in the logo. There's 7 eyes and 7 in the logo, and anyway, of the Loveiswatching logo. Sorry.
They're talking about the chestahedron, the 7 faces of the chestahedron.
Indeed.
Yeah, everything comes back to do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. I don't care where you go, you come back to the do. The buck always does. The dollar never travels far from the dough.
The dough is the center.
That's it. I swear to goodness, man. I don't care where
it is. It is, dude. Dude, I found that out last night. Everything
comes from the dough and returns to the dough.
And that's weird.
And they're trying to say that it's in the G, but see, all rarefactions stop and start with C. C is the true dough until we get to there. Like right now, we're coming back to the C era, and that's what we're coming into, and that's the 444 frequency. That's why I say
that's the 108. The 1 and the 8 are the dough and the dough.
Thank you.
Zeros in
and
between.
Bound us to that, so we stay away from the 120. And that's where, and Lynn Claire will tell you all of that. She's all about that, to tell you the balance of the 120 and the 108 is the oxidation stress of the 120. So therefore, at a 108, you get what you get. You get stabbed with a dagger. Oh, the 7 Woes of Mary. Or you could have
Magdalene.
Thank you. I mean, really, this is where it's at. And when we start telling people this, if you keep living according to the factions of the pentagonal, then you're going to end up with a dead result, an end result. If you live according to the 120 of the sharing the stasis of the Trinity, the trilogy,
and or
of the field, this is what you get. Life.
120 is rotational symmetry of the simplex.
Yeah. 60. Hey, I wanted to share this with everybody here, but mostly Chris at this moment. With doing a 360 does not mean to turn around and do about face. A 360, whenever you see it show up in numerology, any angling, any multiplication, anything that has to do with the spherical, guess what? Today's revelation, folks, is the fact that 360, anytime it correlates in any of your mathematics, any kind of your trigonometry, is what? A spiral onto the next octave. It's telling you you're going from one plated octave symmetry into the next, one whole spin. And by doing so, you have to include all the coloring, all the variables, all the frequencies of every motion, emotion in between. That's what 360 means. It doesn't mean make a fucking circle. Pardon me. Oh, my bad. It doesn't mean make a circle. It means make a spiral. That's your step. That's one whole step. It's saying you're going to the next step. So anyone here, if you're seeing 360 a lot, it's letting you know you're elevating to the next step of harmonics, or to let you know that you're doing a full circumventing of the coloring. So that's just whoever here needs it. It's for you. That was my beautiful gift today. And sometimes the most beautiful things I'm given in life have nothing to do with any matter, but they matter. Isn't that cool?
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, absolutely.
Imagine that. I always thought circle, but that's...
Well, no, it's a matter of perspective. When you look at an axial view of a helix, you see a circle.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I was thinking.
Thank you.
Here. Yep, right here.
That, if you can focus on that, buddy, that is the center of the chestahedron and everything in yin yang.
This is a 360.
Oh. That's where the triangle meets the square. Where the triangle meets the square is a circle. And that is where all life is compressed at. You talk about compression, rarefaction. That is right there off to the right middle. That blue with the white light in the middle, offset with the blue and red swirls around it. There you go, man. There's the circle of the chestahedron when the 4 meets 3. That is the life right there. We could describe it in many different ways, but there it is. We can negate it and go with what's not there, or add the positrons to it and add what is there.
Look at these.
And Buddy mentioned the spire, right? The spire is inspiration. It is the breath. The spire's in the church. The spire is in the center of the chestahedron.
Hey, thank you. And there's where all the symmetry and everybody's equal there.
Yeah. I paint spiral. I paint spires. Church.
No way. Of course
yeah. It's one of the things I do.
There's no coincidence, man.
Nope.
No, it isn't.
The umbra and the penumbra. UMBRA. Umbra. Let's look at the umbra, bro. Images. Oh, look, a brand took it. There's your umbra. And this is just like pretty much you could put this right on the Dougherty set and it'll match perfect. Because that's why
you could superimpose that on Faraday's model with the moon at the center.
And Lucifer's sigil.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been through some of this. But I was more talking about on the sun. So let's look at those. Right here, the umbra and penumbra, and the spires and the helical rotational vortexture of the sun's quote unquote surface, because it yeah. So look at these images, man. And I can't profess my love enough for my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I swear to God, I shouldn't swear to God, but you know what I mean. That's what I have to say it. I have to say it. And I don't say it enough on my episodes. But I don't also push. I don't push. And I expect respect from other people's religious views as I respect theirs. So
I'm constantly referring to the Sacred Heart, the sacred geometry in Jesus Christ, and I'm not religious at all because there's great truths in religion along with the great lies.
Right. I mean, these plasma ropes, these plasma filaments, this torsion, this torque, you have it in your fingertips. You're a universal whip, and your fingertips hold the vajra of life and transformation. And I speak a lot. I speak a lot on India. Their culture really fascinates me, but I study it constantly because the colors, it's the colors that are my favorite is like their soul colors. Yeah. The warmest color and the darkest, the warmest color and the coldest color are like my favorite.
Relative to fingers, buddy, and the heart, in linguistics, have you made the connection between touch and feeling and the heart versus tactility in terms of senses and connections of senses?
Look at this. Look, you can't even find the warmest color. Blue is the warmest color. No, the warmest color is what the monks wear. It's that bright orange. Warmest color is orange.
It's saffron.
Yeah, it's if that's a better description of it. Let me look up saffron because I'm not sure of that color.
It's in their food too.
Okay, here's the table. So saffron would be like right around in here.
Yeah. Well, just it's
okay. All right. That probably became. Yeah, more like this. Around that, yeah. That, oh my goodness, yes. Oh, I want to eat it. Is it edible?
Well, they cook with it, yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's a flower?
I think so, yeah.
Cool. I ate a flower last night. I forget what kind though. So let's see. Talking about the umbra, the penumbra, the global electric circuit, let's talk about the local chimney circuit. If you guys have heard of that.
No.
What we live in, the birkeland current of the solar system, because the solar system is a birkeland current. We've gone through that many different times. Is called the local chimney. So let me look up astronomy. All right. Okay. Here's the local chimney. The local chimney has been around for a few million years. It could easily have been caused by a supernova punching through the top and bottom of the galactic disk, the intense stellar winds from 10 or so hot stars, a powerful gamma ray burst, or even a large star moving through the area. But God forbid, not a Z-pinch. No, because it's not a Z-pinch, because that's not indicative of what this plasmoid here is, and plasmoid instability. And when you look at it, there's the hourglass shape. Here's the hourglass shape. Here's the pinch. Here's the sun. And this is the local chimney. We are moving on the filament of the very front of a Bessel function of birkeland current. The very front of a birkeland current. And we've gone through this on almost every freaking episode. If I could go through it on every episode, I would. But the sun is electric. Don Scott. Oh, look, all this stuff is up. Cool. Nice. I like starting new Google emails because everything's fresh and you don't get the same reiterated, regurgitated content. So like you can start new. Like the geometric view, I get all this suggested stuff that's awesome. Like on my other old one, I'm like, I don't want to listen to any of that crap, you know? It's like, stop giving me this crap, this feedback loop. It's a feedback loop. And because they're know
what you're already interested in, so you don't learn new things.
Well, they were teaching you that they're the boss and you're gonna listen, you're gonna click on what's up next.
Yeah.
No matter what, because they know what you're gonna click on. So it's not that it's clickbait, it's that it's strategized towards maximum amount of userability to keep people on YouTube or Facebook. And they all came out and said, we're so sorry for doing it. It's the worst thing we ever did. And we still do the scroll down slot pachinko machine, you know, lottery gamble, everything scroll. But that's a good way to go for now, you know.
What it is, buddy, is the same reason they took art and music out of education is because they don't want you creating, they want you consuming, right? They don't want you creating art, they want you consuming other people's art.
And they used to call people content creators, now they call them influencers. They took the creator out of you. They took the creator out of the creator. You are the creator creating this shit, this content. We are making this, working hard as diligently as a team, and multiple teams, and you know where we're gonna go with this is we're gonna get into the luminous ether. We're gonna get into transluminous ether. We're gonna get into everything's hyper, everything is exponential. So we're going to appear, this is electric speciation, sonoelectric speciation, electrosonic speciation theory that I put forth of the universe, and it works like, let me show you if I haven't introduced it fully yet. I'll spark your imagination here. What did I just say I was looking up?
Speciation?
Electrosonic speciation. Okay, I need to look up a galaxy. Bye. So there might be some crazy truths to some of these larger cults, and that's why, well, I mean, of course, probably also why there's a guardianship over the truth and like a warriorship mentality, and oftentimes the truth is hidden with omens and skulls and bones to try to protect the truth. That's what I hear, but I don't like that kind of idea of what I hear about that suggestion, because if you have the truth, you should let it shine as bright as you possibly can. Publish or perish, baby. That's where we're at. You don't want to spend 8 years of your life trying to write a book, and you have your mind focused. You can talk about it. Start talking about it with friends, and people will join in on the group, and your idea will fossilize, and you will find like-minded believers and dreamers like we are. We're one step in the cosmic unity of the cosmic connectome. Now, let me show us what electrosonic speciation is. Now you can see that this is a plane inside of a disk inside of a cylinder. Okay, if I were to draw a cylinder here, you can see that this is a rotational disk that's moving in a cylinder with a vector moving in a direction. The center is the vector. What's that?
Dielectric plane.
Yes, indeed. This is a dielectric plane, otherwise known as a dielectric plane. The dielectric inertial plane is coming out here. Mm-hmm. And now this is where those filaments filament. This is where they filament. Now check this out. This is what I've been starting to understand here, is that from dot to dot, from here to here, okay, imagine a human can't propagate to another spot until the idea of a human materializes out here, then finalizes the idea, masters the idea, crystallizes the idea. Amen, amen. It is done in the center, and when the human body form finally makes it into the local black hole, it's connected to the larger cosmic connectome that allows for that crystallized species to appear in different spots, like a Lichtenberg figure. When
dimensionally.
Yeah. Now, like, ultimately, our greatest purpose could be self-destruction. That could be what is our purpose. And that's why we're so self-destructive in a way. Because it has to destruct in order to complete the loop of the circuit of the living beings. The circuit opens, and then it has to close. Once the circuit's closed, those creatures are no longer in existence, extinct. Then it starts over with those ideas recursively outside of the system, and it can tap back into those, and that's what feeds it. So, I mean, because we know that there's speciation events after extinction events. cyclical speciation events after.
Yeah, it's the rebirth process.
Yeah.
Everything follows that. Your life, if you get something done in a lifetime, the magnetic phase pulls you back to center, but when it throws you back out for another cycle, it throws you back out as something more than you were before. If you get nothing done in this cycle, you come back to repeat it because you've got more transmutation, more phi attenuation till you get to that 12th term in the Fibonacci sequence where phi is actually equal to phi, right? And then past that 12th term, it never ends. You're constantly evolving, further refining your proportion. And that's all that this is. And it's all a circle of those four, the fundamental fourness of birth, growth, decay, death. And always rebirth in the do.
Yeah.
Mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Right? Always.
Scale by Jeffrey West. I bring it up on almost every episode. I'm going to contact him, and we're just going to do an episode on scale. And I mean,
Scale is E.
I've been communicating with here it is. I've been communicating with Rupert Sheldrake and Jeffrey, or not Jeffrey West, Vladimir Ginsburg. So that's good, and I think everybody should go in that direction. I mean, but I don't. That's just a suggestion, a biased suggestion because of my research. And so this is it. This is what you just said here. Universal laws of growth, innovation, sustainability, and the pace of life in organisms, cities, economies, and companies. Now, let me tell you about the global electric circuit. Now, take my idea of the galactic electric circuit. There's a global electric circuit. There's a local chimney electric circuit. Then there's the galactic electric circuit. And then there is the galaxy to galaxy circuit, which is
octahedral for one.
Transcalar. No, what is it? Anyway. So yeah.
It's fractal in that doubling process.
It's all doubling, yes.
What correspondence in the Gnostics really speaks to. Correspondence is as above, so below. It is the fractal, right? That everything, there's nothing that can't follow, right? In terms of essence, that can't follow that fractal pattern. And it's trillions of times every second. It's expanding from source out to the boundaries of the unit cube and back trillions of times. It informs the universe and comes back through itself, right? We choose the present moment.
Those are the neutrinos circulating the whole system. It's all liquid. We're just like, oh, they don't do anything. They don't do anything. That's another Walter Russell right there. Because of Walter Russell, we found neutrinos exist because heavy water. Fact. Walter Russell discovered heavy water. And that's how he got his doctorate. So, because he also discovered pre-water. Oh, bet you didn't hear about that one, did you? Yeah, there's pre-water.
Exclusion zone?
Oh, yeah, the exclusion zones, charge separation, all has to do with compression and rarefaction. Moving from one being to another, motherfucker, life is tough. You got to transcend and overcome. The overcomers are the ones that are going to make it. And I'm telling you what, man, it is a dirty, dirty, dirty battle out there right now.
Big time.
For everyone. For everyone.
Streets and they have no idea what's happening otherwise.
Oh, it's not Black Lives Matter. It's killing certain people on purpose around the planet. That's a fucking fact.
Yeah. Well, they've been
Shit's
doing
going
that
down
for thousands of years.
Yeah. It's all been pre-scripted for eons. And boy, is the darkness thirsty for those light sources. Because
what's happening, buddy, is people are losing their belief systems. They're losing the fear, and the fear is loosh, it's miasma, it's sustenance.
yes.
And so they are hungry because the more we learn, the less we fear, right? And the more they hunger.
Well, also they fear. They start becoming afraid because they meaning, listen, I'll tell you they versus us versus them. They is anybody who is afraid of losing their life.
Yep.
Anybody who is clinging on to this earthly body and wanting to join some internet thing that says, oh, you can have eternal life, eternal life, eternal life. Selling all of us, our voices, our everything for the past 10, maybe 20, 30 years is going to be re-released to the public to fuck with the public in 20, 30 years of our grant. We're going to fuck with our children using the social media to mind fuck them, making them think that their mom's telling them stuff. And dude, the power that the cell phone holds is do not mitigate the or underestimate the power of the thing in your pocket.
The mind control.
You need to keep that. Literally, I YouTubed our channel, and it said Illuminati mind control was one of the things. 33% of my feed or our views for us is Illuminati mind control, but that's probably just people searching that. But that's weird that it was a category, because there was a bunch of other categories like implosion. Maybe it was just a study of people who searched for this, found your, that's probably it. Yeah, found my site by searching and moving through it. Or our site, because I like to say it's ours, because that's what we're here. And ours is Horus, right? And Horus is bad, right? Or scary, or we're supposed to be scared of it. All these things that happen in the sky, we turn into gods, and then we worship them, and then they became the days of the week: Moon Day, Sunday, Saturnalia, Saturday, the black cube, and what is it? Saturn, Saturnalius. There was wars up in the sky, and we were a product of this we saw it, witnessed it, and had to live through it on Earth. And we, as quick, think of how quick global amnesia is happening on a day-to-day basis with the amount of information that's being put out right now. We're in the exponential. Okay, we forgot what happened last week, literally, because there's so much, and nobody's
time dilation.
There's your plasmoid pinch right there. There's your spin. There's the Whistler waves, the same geometry that comes spaghettifying out of the Dougherty set and the Dougherty Network. There it is. And that's the azelmuthal current, but it's also following a field-aligned current. That is the field-aligned current. And this is the Bessel function. And this is the, the Bessel function is also right here in the waves, the drumbeat of this galactic center here. So I don't know if I went
6 and 9 into the Bessel function to see the geometries.
Oh, dude, I know that I'm working with Chad Kushner on showing the completion of Marco Rodin's 369 into the Aurora star. And the Aurora star I named after my daughter because I was discovering it as she was being born. And it is the proportions, it's the 369 on that normal Marco Rodin torus that people are used to seeing.
Mm-hmm.
That is one function inside of an iterative process that's larger. So if you could scale that up into what I show off here is the Dougherty set. We've been, or as the Aurora star, we've showed it a couple times on these episodes, and I even went went quite a bit into it with what was that gentleman's name that has it was we interviewed him. That was how we all kind of connected more, Chris, I think, when we had that guy on the episode.
Tetronics?
Yeah, Tetronics. Yeah, Tetronics.
Yeah, no, that's who I've been collaborating with for going on five years now.
That's the truth. It's the truth. It literally is the truth. That's why you're here, because you see it here too. And that's the Aurora star, is those planners, those plane, those, for lack of a better term, diamond shapes, you know? Yeah, the rhombic shape. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's the entire galaxy. I can send you papers. The entire galaxy is clustered in octahedral form. That Buckminster-Fuller's vector equilibrium in the isotropic vector matrix in the 64 is the key to everything. It really is. Yeah, and it is piezo. So it's an electric universe, but it's piezoelectric at all scales.
Indeed. And when the charge compresses on the outer ionosphere, back to our stories here with Sprites, this is a new one, so that has good. Oh man, I was going somewhere. Sorry, I got distracted. You were just saying, Chris?
In terms of the galactic structure, the Laniakea heart, right? And
yes,
and octahedral clustering.
Octahedral, hexagonal packing, and the honeycomb morphologies that Brighton talks about and shows.
The vector equilibrium is the honeycomb. It's the three planes. It's the three-ring trefoil, right? Is those three hexagons in the vector equilibrium. It's that expansion process. That's what creates those hexagons. And that's where I'm coming from when I'm always saying 6 is sex. In 69, that's what Hopf bifurcation is. And the bifurcation is mitosis.
Yes. Oh, I want to pull up a Hopf bifurcation. If you can remind me after we watch this little video. The Hopf bifurcation is like how you steer plasma with your hand, and how you do it with your head, and how you twist your hands like they're butter, like you're basically a bird, and you flutter your fingertips in certain ways.
Well, also you with the full glass of water, the lemniscate motion.
Like jazz fingers. Don't get your jazz fingers out. You know, that is it. And those fingers are when you point at someone, and when you move your hands, and that's power with your voice, and that's what creates the structure of a character of a person. Partially what creates the structure. So if I could take a little smoke break, and someone wants to tell us a little story about charge moving either wherever, because it's all charged, baby.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with the vortex-based math is polarities, actually even emotions, right? I'm trying to connect the platonic solids to the five physical senses. They're geometric. The senses are geometric. Emotions are harmonic.
The senses are orifices, and orifices are vortices.
Yep.
Yeah. So I would love to see
that geometry. Those faces are the angels that are angles.
Yep, and we can see it in these sprites. You can see the faces. You can see the bodies. You can see the roots. The upper and the lower meeting each other. Okay, so this is just look at that. It's beautiful. I've always been fascinated by lightning and branches and trees and Lichtenberg figures. And when the Dougherty set came to me in 2003 and the 7-day vision with 7 images, I thought that God was electricity. God was electric. So I went to different churches. I was working at a car wash at the time. I was 19. And the guy that I was working with, Dan Powers, he's like, man, what I'm witnessing right here is like a beautiful mind. This is crazy. Like, seriously, I've never seen this. I'm like, I know, and I can't find any of these images online. I'm like, dude, this is a larger structure. This is like spirals within spirals. I studied it for 2 years, and then after almost losing my mind, I didn't think I was going to lose my mind, but it definitely made me really socially awkward because I was only focused on this and trying to understand this. And during these 7 days was the quickening, is like what I like to call it, the thickening of the atmosphere of plasma, transcending an individual through an experience which makes time dilation. You have a time dilation when you're connected to the source. When you're when you move closer to the source, your time slows down. I figured out a science. Me like you, Chris, I have a philosophy and I've been doing it for 12 years. And me like you involves all the senses. It's actually called sense therapy because we need to resensitize. And I'd love to collaborate and work with you and show you what I'm doing and pop these kits that I'm making to promote multiculturalism everywhere and show perfectly how we have 100% collective trade routes to have people have new situations daily, because that's what's going to make people change their senses and wake up.
Well, there's no stopping it.
It's novelty. That's what wakes people up. You have to show them change. You have to make them change. You have to make them want to change. We're reorganizing society right now as humans. Everyone is.
Well, if you really understand,
we're part of this. Build it how you want it to be. Right now is the time to manifest destiny. Rebuild it. Everybody's working in different levels. So be true to yourself. Don't be freaking judgmental of other religions and other people's beliefs because they're part of the circuitry.
Yeah.
Fucking relax and sit down. I'm talking to myself and everybody. I mean, we need to take it in for the glory of what it is. There's so much of this propaganda. Stay safe, stay at home, stay safe. You see someone and you're just like, oh my God, he has a mask on. Now you're just like, holy shit, everybody has masks on. And it's like,
some people are even succumbing to the fashion fucking aspect of it that kills me.
Yeah, like someone told me yesterday,
I'm cool.
$10 for a mask is what they're charging at the ice cream shops.
Yeah.
$10. And it's like, whoa, this is the new fidget spinner, guys. But it's the new normal, so we're always going to make money. Buy them up.
Yeah.
You can't lose on money. It's always you can't lose on masks. It's always a good investment. Meanwhile, they sit there in the back of the ice cream truck or whatever. I say this because I had this event happen last night. You know, the masks are just like probably sitting there in bulk on the ground with grease and shit, and just like people sneezing and kicking around and dust and, oh, here's your mask, $8. It's like, and it's, the masks are sitting there in the open when you pay with dirty money. So it's like collectively sucking the germs to it, inducing the germs.
In the process.
Oh, look at how beautiful these are. So my whole life when I was growing up, my favorite color was purplink. This, now I know why. And this does not, I was bisexual as a child, and this is the first time I've ever said that. Like, I found out.
We're all bisexual.
I found out, and I was just like, I'm like, whatever, why not talk about it? But because that only builds the truth. I mean, that only builds people's understanding of who I am better, you know. And then I found out what I liked, you know. Which one did I prefer? And I prefer women. So, you know, I think we're all born bi-curious. So to put the decision in the child it's a little strange, because these pills should have an age restriction on them. I'm sure they do, but the parents still give the pills to these kids.
Those aren't parents.
Well, if you look at they are us. Okay, I'm going to connect every motherfucking body on this planet. That's my job, until we stop seeing our suffering. And if I have to die for that, so be it.
Well, but buddy, you can't. The whole purpose of existence is suffering. The whole purpose of what's happening right now is polarization.
No, there's degrees higher than suffering. That's what I'm talking about.
Right,
elevate. Listen, hang on a sec. They're elevating your conscious plane to the fact that you don't give a fuck about death, because there's death. Where is your sting? It's gone. There's a reason why we have to conquer the fear of death, because it holds people back. And there's bullshit statistics that say more people are afraid of standing up and public speaking than death is bullshit. Maybe it's true because so many people are suicidal because the depression rate, because we contractually give ourselves this virus called media mind and media hive mind. And we need to wake up, and we need to know that this is a global electric circuit and it's trying to stabilize itself right now. We need to help stabilize this thing.
Well, really just a threshold needs to wake up. Everybody doesn't need to wake up. Everybody's not intended to wake up, right? It's just the same thing with cymatics. When you reach that threshold frequency, right? And all the sand shifts, it's not everybody. The Civil War wasn't won by everybody fighting, right? It's just that threshold population, Plato's ideal number, right? 7 factorial. It's that ideal population or that threshold. But all of this suffering, so first you have to put suffering into context in terms of all that suffering is polarization. When you deviate from center, that's suffering, because you're
that's singular mind. Yes, when your whole body when your eye is one, when your eye is singular, the lamp of the body, not lamps, lamp. When your eye is singular, you are focused, and you are 100% can be in the optimal flow state into the circuitry.
Yeah. No, that's important, man. It's really important to understand that polarization, what's been happening for the last 13,000 years, is we're in the electric polarizing cycle. And I'd like you to speak to Terrence Howard's position that electric is contractive and magnetic is expansive, because that's the opposite of what I see. But
okay,
polarization process of electricity, right? You polarize and you magnetize. We've been polarized for 13,000 years, separating from source, and now we're entering on a much larger fractal scale into the magnetic phase of going back to source, right? Through which you get sent back out. It's a rebirth. That's what's happening in 2024 on your birthday, right? Is that reorganization. We're being sent back out. It's a transmutation. It's a evolutionary leap. We're going to be thrown back out as something more, but not everything is, right? Because that's the process. Some of it, the ladder goes down as it goes up. There's devolving as there's evolving.
So
and it has to be that way to balance.
Right. It does. And as the darkness grows stronger, as there is the pinhole, I'm telling you, dude, the gate is narrow AF. Narrow AF. And yeah, we all who have been through, we all who seek knowledge, truth, and information in geometry, I'm just going to leave it at that, because anybody who does that comes to pretty much the same conclusions.
They have to.
Geometry is a universal religion. It's a universal proofing system. It's the only math. It's flawless. It's the only way you can prove something. Because you can't prove anything in the universe. The closest you can come to is proofing it. So geometry is the only thing that really, life is geometric. So we should be talking about the geometric universe. It's not electric. It's geometric first.
Yeah.
And Chris and I talk about this, and you talk about it more extensively than I do, but I talk about the lenticular universe. I talk about any type of universe that matches the Umwelt of the Dougherty set, which I can explain literally. I can use Einstein special relativity to explain the Dougherty set.
Yeah, because it's going to be the future of education, buddy. It really is.
It is, and I'm releasing it.
What I'm focusing on, my life's work is Occam's razor, first principle, where does it all start? And that is the 2C couple. And if you haven't stared at that thing rotating for a couple hours and really meditate on it, you don't see where
Can you share it?
Centripetal and centrifugal are derived.
Can you please share that to the group?
I have ad nauseum, but I'll do it again.
Well, because then I'll know exactly which one you mean, and I'll know the significance because
Okay,
your voice matches the image.
Half. All it is a circle, diameter of a larger circle spinning around the inside of it. That's what yin yang is fundamentally based in, right?
Oh.
One half of the yin yang or the 2C couple is the Vesica Pisces.
Okay,
right?
okay.
It's two circles overlapping. That is where the Eye of Horus and everything is those three circles.
You know what? That was the 5th drawing. No, that was the 6th. The 6th drawing, and I ended up turning it, framing it, and turning it into framing it, because I literally 7 drawings came to me through the ether, and I went through it. The transmorphism, freaking homeomorphisms, morphologies, morphogenesis, plasma, straight up phase conjugation, golden mean, replication of golden mean. Like, that's why Dan Winter is lit. That's why I am lit. That's why we are lit in this group, because this is the inverse square law. This is what I keep explaining.
That is now, the Pisces.
Now, when you use, instead of spheres, you use, actually it is spheres, but they're showing planes right here, slices of the spheres. Yeah. So, yeah, slices of the pie. So, oh man, oh my gosh, guys,
that right there is ABC is easy as 1, 2, 3. Michael Jackson sang about it.
Yes, and this is the throne, and this is, if you were to take the center cone right here, or the center, and replicate it another time, that's 1 over r squared. And if you were to take this and replicate it again, that's 1 over r squared. And guess what? The sun does do that. The sun does do indeed just that.
It's 369.
We see the inverse square law. In all measurements of all things and all 4 fundamental forces, because it unfolds logarithmic scale invariantly out of the center source, and the center source multiplies its power, doubling on multiple strings of roped filaments and plasmas, and those are birkeland currents, and they hit the drum beat all day long of the Earth magnetopause. We showed that in the last episode. It bangs on that drum, and that drum keeps rumbling. So let's speak to Terrence Howard here. Speak on Terrence Howard.
Yeah, love it.
This is a staff that I made for him, and he put in the season finale of, I think, the season that we were on that year. He was I don't remember exactly what season, maybe season 7, but it was on the finale, grand finale. And when he came out with the stick that I made for him, I was actually at his presentation, and I left the building before his presentation to go make this for him during his presentation. So I missed his, I don't know what he said, his whole presentation, other than some pictures that people took.
The one at Cambridge?
No, the one at the University of Science and Philosophy.
Oh, okay.
If you go to it, he talks about, you can see pre-Buddy and Terrence meeting and post-Buddy and Terrence meeting in his work, because we didn't meet before that presentation. And he had also talked with Matt Presti, the president there, ahead of time as well.
Love Matt.
Yes, Matt. Oh my gosh. Love him to death.
Yeah.
I love that whole family. Actually, I was supposed to be staying with them this weekend, but craziness induced in Maryland sent me in a different direction. So
the craziness is just getting started, man.
Yeah, craziness on all scales. So though I walked through the valley of the shadow of death, I can't remember the rest. I know I was thinking of two verses in my head at the same time.
Well, you're here. Yeah, that's all that matters.
Two verses came to mind, but I'm reading multiple different scriptures, Irish poems, the Tao Te Ching, the Art of War, just a bunch of different things, and becoming more multi-optic instead of mono-optic. So this is, when he came out on screen, he was like, the first words out of his mouth was, "I'm the baddest motherfucker alive." When he had this, I was like, yes. And then I thought I was going to come over to his house and school him and show him all sorts of awesome stuff. But he schooled me. And I was like, holy crap.
How much of that did he get from Hollywood and the occult?
What's that?
I said, how much of that did he get from Hollywood and the occult?
None.
Nice.
What's the strange thing is I asked him if anybody was interested in it in Hollywood, or if anybody cared, and he's like, dude, there's not one person. He's alone, like me. We're alone in the world. That's why we literally, he was calling me his 432 for a good year and a half. We still talk, but I mean, he's still working with the teams that I helped assimilate for him, and they're on to their own thing. He doesn't want my work to interrupt his work, and I don't want his work to interrupt my work.
Well, at some point they have to integrate.
Well, we do integrate. Oh, and I can talk about that. Like you just brought that up. That's why I'm bringing it up today.
Yeah.
So let's do it on this episode. Why not?
Okay.
Terrence said that I could talk about it. He said that all the images that are in his book, I can show, and there's no problem with that. Since then, he has created, I don't know if he was like, he wanted to see what I was going to make. Because he didn't show me how he did his, he just told me. And I held it and I saw it and I looked at it and I saw his other sculptures and I'm like, it still didn't really make sense. Because it's hard to make them even if you hold them and figure it out. But then it all made sense. And I started bubble sculpting on the solstice, December 21st, 2019. And I also started the geometric view. Actually, bubble sculpting was right around that year, but the geometric view was on the solstice. So it's got a nice helical bend and twist on it, and the filament that's going up, it twists around too, up the stick. That's enough about me and Terrence. That's a beautiful suit, though.
Could you also speak to that, the expansion versus contraction of electromagnetic?
Indeed, here it is. So, Terrence started and showed me how to bubble sculpt. I'm not sure exactly what he called it, but he was explaining it and expressing it as a dream that he had as a child, and where there was just, the whole universe was like bubbles, and all of them were bubbles, and everything made a lot more sense that way, frothy,
Mm-hmm.
And well, I mean, since then, and probably previously to that, there's the pre-Socratic philosophers who talked about the ether as a vortices and multiple vortices. So this isn't old. This isn't new. This is extremely old. But how do we preserve this information for until 2028? Even let's get it in the ground now. Let's make this seen. Let's put it in capsules. Let's put it under the ground. initially when the geometry came to me, I was going to put it in capsules and ship it to different places all around the world. And just because I have huge, like 90 inch plots on a plotter of the Dougherty set. I worked in signage, and I mastered signage and topped out and moved on, because it's a really brutal, and I mean, I was everything. I was sales, I was installation, I was designer, I was, we had 50 jobs on the job board regularly at Signorama. And but that everything helps to build your skills, because you have to have good skills to build these plasmoids like this. So before Terrence and I met, he was talking about these being like black hole or dark matter conjugations. If you look up on the University of Science and Philosophy's page, you'll see my presentation from 2019. What was it? Yeah, October and it was November 1st. It was November 1st, my presentation. So that was right when, like, supposedly maybe COVID was being released around there. People say if it was released. But I'm not going to speculate on anything, because there's too much spin. There's too much spin on it. So, because mainstream, this is an important point here that I'm going to say, because mainstream physics will have you believe, mainstream science and all the quackademics will have you believe that that it's all dark matter. They turn things dark to try to scare you, but dark mode plasma is a real thing. Dark mode plasma. We are in a living liquid crystal state. It's a very visceral, umbilical, undulating, sex reproductive fractality. All things are having sex constantly. Read Russell's work. Yep. Look at nature. Go out and observe. When's the last time you went out in nature? If you go out there, you'll see everything has to reproduce to get there. Like, sand just didn't get there. How does sand reproduce? Guess where sand comes from? Most sand is diatoms that are formed in brine broths by crystalline silicon structures that are in perfect geometric form from sonobiology taking place and creating the morphologies of these certain channels that are in cylindrical brine forms. They come down these channels and sonify with the ether in the upper atmosphere and the telluric currents underneath the ground that are also part of the global electric circuit, the galactic electric circuit. That's why we know we are infinite, and we know that we have reached to eternality. But these sprites should scare people. I'm going to come back to Terrence. These sprites, these pictures of sprites, if I had one up here, they should be a warning to remind us all that there's a larger system that we're attached to. And the Egyptians knew that it was the afterlife. Something about in the afterlife that was there was a preponderance. When you study what the life force energy is, the Jedi, the center of the throat of a Taurus, these you understand how these diatoms can crystallize out of sound. It's just like how all and they're living single-celled organisms. The importance of these is because they're phytoplankton blooms. Phytoplankton blooms are the largest producer, up to 80% of the oxygen on the planet. Kayaks are fun, and I went kayaking, and we had a slime bath. We threw slime all over each other. I just went into the waterfalls, and it was wonderful, and like rubbed the there was a sandbar there that was filled with charcoal and all this other like rocks, and it was really nice. So we exfoliated there and rubbed it all over our skins. Why am I talking about that? And why am I jumping around from subject to subject? Because that's what builds sand. Yeah. Sand is diatoms.
Sand is time. Lights in the hourglass.
Sand, the majority of sand is diatomite. Okay? Yeah. Diatomite is is diatoms that have become rock. They've become limestone. The limestone turned into sand. So diatomite.
And then it speaks to the top half and the bottom half of Giza, because that's really we see the top half, but that other half is there. It's an octahedron.
Okay, diatomite, also known as that Earth, is the naturally occurring fossilized remnants of diatoms. Baby,
I see diatomaceous Earth all the time to Chile de aluminum.
We're supposed to be eating this.
I do.
It's the most. Okay, you look up the hex. I'm telling everybody this, and people are going behind my back and doing it. Fuck yeah. Not behind my back. You don't even have to tell me if you're doing it or not. Go get a wind. Go get a wind hex. It's not my idea. I'm not claiming it either, but I'm just saying I've been bringing it up, and since I've been bringing it up, I hear other people are already into this. This is how we're going to feed ourselves with mana. This is how we're going to feed ourselves with dry food. And this is how we're going to get across this village. The blue world is going to be our pillar of fire, pillar of smoke. It's now the next phase, and it's condensed to a plasmoid. That's what the pillar of fire is, and the blue world. Now, what was I going to look up? Oh, wind hex. Frank Polka's tornado in a can. I'm going to put it on again. I put it on so many times.
No, it's critical.
Yeah,
for people to see the power of the vortex.
Yeah, the power of the vortex and money. I'm talking. This is no moving parts.
Yeah,
dude, this is gold. This is a blue whirl gets formed inside here, and cyclotron and synchrotron radiation just rip apart whatever you throw in there.
And all we ever had to do was watch a tornado.
Yeah, it's a pillar of light. Listen, dude, listen. This literally happened. Mm-hmm. Maybe we created a tornado in a can, but we figured it out. Or God was trying to tell us with the pillar of fire by day, pillar of smoke by night. What would that produce raining out of the sky? Mana. Because it was shedding up the diatoms and putting it up in the upper atmosphere. And it came raining down as like wafers, and they didn't know what it was, but it was the tornado doing it. Think about it. Unless none of that was really, unless it's all just symbols and, who knows. But this machine, you can put the diatoms, you can put anything, and gold, certain amounts of everything you throw in there together, and then create your ormus and live off of powder. It might sound like Matrix, like the Matrix or something, or Soylent Green. But I promise that's probably better for us than any food that's out there, especially in America. So let's make it.
It comes in anything but a bag. Yeah.
Let's make it. Let's. I know there's a lot. Some other ormus my friend makes in Canada. There's so many different types of ormuses. A, I might have only tried it once. B, I want to try it again and remember. C, I need some. And so going back to the universal electric currents or galactic electric currents and electrosonic speciation, these brine channels, and this episode's really kind of wrapping up the electric view to to from the first episode till now, because I've been talking about a lot of this stuff, but putting it all together takes some time, and I'm willing to do that here. So these were once the diatoms. You look up diatoms, and they're the beautiful shapes that we're at right here with Terrence. Things like this, and the shapes that I'm making in the bubble sculpting. Now, Terrence is right in that I'm in a very unique position because I'm working with the Universal Ones Artist Collective, and there's a lot of people working on this geometry, and I have the ability to both of us have the ability to highlight each other's work and to share this transcendence into a new epic. And I'm not like one to be new age or like here comes the shift, you know, like here galactically aligned with it, but like I talk about it and stuff, and I'm starting to learn more about it. But these are electric. Terrence has magnetic and electric shapes, and he understands them as these hyperbolic geodesics, hyperbolic geometries, basically the Planck or the platonic solids, but with hyperbolic lines instead of straight lines. Now, there's a bunch of different types. I want to compare these to diatoms so we can look at them at the same time. So you can see there's a lot of hyperbolic shapes here. The majority of them are hyperbolic. They have these little pinch points. They're basically all plasmoid. They're basically similar to plasmoids and plasmoid interference. I talk about plasmoids and plasmoid interference a lot, so let's just pull those up. Images. Plasmoids are everywhere. Basically everything is plasmoids. Ball lightning is plasmoids. Plasma instabilities are these sprites. The sprites and the transluminous events that we were showing, those are plasmoids, plasma instabilities. When you look up Pratt's plasmoid instabilities, I have a bunch of plasmoids, and look, there's the column. Here's your terminus that comes off at the top, or your horns. There's the horns are in our hand. The horns are our hands, because you raise your hands up above your head. You know, here's if that's the tail or the head, either way, you raise your hands up, just like all the plasma does inside of the sprites. See, you see sprite geometry and geometry of the bicones, flowing biconical energies. Biconical flowing energies, same as the Dougherty Network. Now,
can I touch on that graphic you had with the hands? Because that's where I'm going, is the phalanges in the hands connected to the 12 cranial nerve pairs.
Okay.
Is fundamentally where time comes from. And it's reflected in that drawing with the two hands coming up and the 12 crosses. The 12th,
this one,
right? And then
this one, right?
With the two, yeah. And then with the two circles on the bottom is the 14. That's how many phalanges are in each hand. And there's a connection actually to a Sumerian military formation called a phalanx. It's really fascinating, right? In terms of decoding the matrix. All secrets are in plain sight. And yeah, I can't wait to share this. It's really an epistemology of decoding the matrix and decoding archetypes.
Yeah, speaking of flanked, feels like, yeah, all right. So you can see what happens with these sprites and these transluminous events. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Everything when it gets excited puts its hands up, including the energy itself, the plasma shield, the plasma energy. They put their hands up.
I do when I'm sun gazing.
I do too. And om the sun to sleep, you know, or to fold, or to into rotation, and you start seeing all these crazy tracers and different things that exist that you can't see unless you have eyes to see. Love is watching.
Yes.
So
that's really important for everything we're doing, buddy, because like working with people like Lou at University of Chicago, getting them to see this stuff is going to be a real challenge, because it takes work, and it's not something that you can just explain to somebody, you know, because they don't have the perspective, they don't have the words to, because you don't have a thought that you don't have a word associated with, and they don't have the vocabulary. And then you couple that with synonym, antonym, homonym, contronym, right? The words that they do think that they have the same meaning you did. It's really a big problem with us, and why I think it's really important. The imagery that you're creating speaks to them at levels that they don't understand. But the geometry is so important, and the imagery is so important to really fine tune, because that's the only way we're going to reach them outside of language.
I think you're right. You hit it right on the head. Speaking of witchuals here, and the energy, yeah, it's there, man. And when the ionosphere comes closer, when the ionosphere becomes more charged, everything becomes more charged. Guess what's happening right now?
Yep.
The ionosphere is becoming more charged.
And it's going to culminate on the solstice of December 21st, when you first started creating your bubbles.
December 21st. Oh, when?
That's when the veil drops. This year. 5 months away.
1 year. That'll be a 1 year anniversary of the geometric view, guys.
Yeah. Love it.
By the way, we're getting a lot of attention, a lot of views. Everything's skyrocketing right now.
There's no stopping it.
Yeah.
Right? It's a logarithmic function. What's happening right now in terms of this awakening, we think in linear terms. We don't understand that time, everything is logarithmic.
Right.
Where Euler's E is really coming in time, right? But this awakening, and the same thing we've been experiencing in terms of technology, the more we learn, the faster we learn, the more people question what they believe, the faster what they believe erodes, because they're going to see the falsities in it, and they're gonna need something to fill that void. And that's really when you're going to shine, and I'm going to shine, is when they're reaching out for something to grasp onto, right? For something to believe in, because that provides stability, and they don't have that right now.
I got distracted. I got a call from my nephew. We might go bridge jumping later.
Okay.
I don't condone it, and quite frankly, it's illegal. And I've seen the cops there telling the kids to get off of the bridge. So I don't want to be the one responsible for him if something were to happen. So I'm probably gonna.
If something happens, it's intended to happen, buddy. We can't.
Well, I know he's gonna jump the bridge no matter what, but I'm not gonna be the guy taking him. That's what I was getting at.
That's fair.
Yeah. So look at this. It's trees. Look at these trees. These are huge trees that are reaching out to heaven. It's how to become a space jellyfish. How to reach out and become like, I don't know about you, but I can become a jellyfish.
Wait a minute, you don't do building a tower to Babylon?
Jellyfish. So you can intend and you can sympathetically vibrate and have sympathetic vibratory relations with any living and non-living entity or idea. So ideas you can resonate with and have babies with. Ideas have babies and they happen in your head.
Mm-hmm. They're called thoughts.
They're called thoughts, yeah.
Thought forms. They're cubic.
Oh, thought forms.
They're actual cubic structures.
Cubic, and I would probably also, since most things have these weird organic shapes, I would argue that it's probably very organic, like these jellyfish shapes, you know, like matrix and the sentinel type of. Actually, jellyfish don't even have tentacles. I think they're called something else. I don't know.
In my
no, that's
cosmology, all that
octopi.
exists is the cube.
That's octopi, octopus. Octopi don't have tentacles. I had to correct that. But jellyfish do. So what did you just say? Sorry.
I don't know.
All right. So you look at these, the layers of a living jellyfish, and then you look at the heliopause. And you see that these, it didn't even go in, did it? Oh, here we go. I did mean heliopause, yes. I'm rather a quite horrible speller sometimes.
Spelling.
Yeah, they don't even teach the kids how to spell anymore. They spell for them. They give them.
Well, they don't even. They use this shit in their texting. They don't even use words anymore.
Okay,
They're
I guess.
recreating language.
I guess more of the Magnetosphere. That's more what I was talking about with the jellyfish. Images, and I have it shown all up on the Dougherty set. It's because of the digital root that you were talking about, and Euler's scaling. You have the electron, the size of the electron matching and corresponding directly with the size of the other planets, the size of the atom or the size of the proton matching other sizes of other celestial bodies here in our solar system. These aren't accidental. The distribution of matter is equally distributed so as to push you into existence. We didn't ask to come here. Nothing asks to come here. That's why the universe, it gives. It does nothing but give. It doesn't take. It's giving all the time. And if we perceive anything as taking, it's not, because it's perfectly sustaining itself. It's perfectly sustaining itself. If someone dies over here, if someone dies over here, it's because it has to balance out unfortunately, the Schumann cavity. And the Schumann cavity, and to keep the global electric circuit running properly. That's why I think maybe why certain animals it seems like they kill themselves, because there's a circuit. No, lemmings were fake. That was all bullshit.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, that honestly, that people use that.
Not in terms of humanity. They're very real.
Well, no, they're fake. That they were running off the cliff. It was all a part of not a psyop, but I don't know, a video that went. It became a meme, like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Motherfucking bullshit, you can't. That's the biggest holding back of one of the biggest memes I've ever heard. You know what I mean? Like,
well, Darwin was the biggest one.
You want a meme to hold you back in life? Like, just go somewhere and be a futilitarian or something, please, because I don't need it. Okay, now look up futilitarian, because that's the word of the day.
Futilitarian.
Futilitarian. Devoted to futile pursuits. A person devoted to futile pursuits.
That's pretty much humanity.
Futilitarian. Now, we speak about generativity on this show all the time, and generativity is preparing for the next generation. Now, let's talk about generativity for a minute and the United Nations Sexual Education Program. UN Sex Ed. UN Sex Education. You can read it verbatim in their 2030 Comprehensive Sexuality Education is what it's called. Now, this comes from UNFPA, United Planned Parenthood Association or something like that, and that's what Bill Gates' father was president of, the Planned Parenthood for a time. Oh, there it is. United Nations Population Fund, sorry. But there is the, there is what I was just talking about. It does exist.
For a second. It's already in being popularized in mainstream venues.
Well, this is the gist of it. Let me tell you the gist of it. And paraphrasing their new sexuality for global sexuality. All beings have the right to sexuality at all ages. And so kids have a right to have sex. And when you look at the comprehensive sexuality education, you read more, you go in, and it talks about training and support, and there's a lot of crazy stuff that has already happened. UNFPA works with governments and partners to develop and implement comprehensive sexuality education programs that meet international technical standards. So let's see, I think it was Peru. Peru did not want to lower their legal sexual age. Hang on a second, guys. I gotta take a 2-second break.
All right.
All right. So they did not want to change their legal sex down to age 16 or something like that. Legal age to have sex with an individual.
Uh-huh.
Because things were going good. They agreed that things were going good, but the condom producers were going to make so much X amount of money on a certain type of class, those people in Peruvians, and ultimately it was like a 5-year battle or something. And they finally acquiesced, and ultimately, because they thought that it was going to turn the country into a cesspool, and like have elites come there and
Right.
do different things, because there's already countries that are like that.
Well, that's why they're doing it.
Well, this is the thing. They're going. The implementation of this is a global thing, and I'm only pointing it out, and you guys can read more on your own there. Anybody who's interested, I would look up. I forget her name too. I forget a couple of things. Sorry, my mind. I went through some shit last night.
No worries.
Okay.
So, can we speak to the bifurcation nature of what's happening right now, and that path being an alternative to the ladder goes up, the ladder goes down, that path has to be followed, just as those of us that are on this ascending path. That's the path that descends. And so I don't see a lot of utility in focusing on that, because where you put your attention, right? And just focusing on the solutions and what we're doing in terms of living in a sane world, because that other process has to follow because of all these people that are following, that have compromised their sovereignty and are not taking back their lives. It's just, I see it as a triplicity that perhaps there's going to be one faction that stays on Earth, right, and repairs all the damage, another that ascends, and another that devolves into the Borg, into the transhumanist nightmare that's being created as we speak.
Yeah, it is a cyborg transhumanist, eugenicist fact that's happening. It's trans-eugenicist. Eugenicists changed their name to transhumanism and transhumanists.
Yeah, there's an actual attack, and it's gone so far. If you don't mind me speaking right now on this, since it's the topic, it's gone so far as the fact that, I mean, when you look at what they're doing, they're looking at the God factor in the brain, that they're literally trying to de-stimulate that section of the brain of the people that stand up and, you know, want to go and want to worship and or believe in a higher being. They're trying to stimulate that into how would I say, a hypnotic stasis. They want to, you know, basically numb that part of the mind. And I mean, you look at the suicide rates, and this is where, you know, we got them at, even though it's the hoodwink at which you're going for.
There's induced suicides also, where your cell phone can play with your mind and make you
well, yeah, because see, this is what 5G
feel a certain way, and creates doubts inside of the body. Doubts like you're not good enough, and I think it's reverberations from electric smog.
Well, look at the fact that you have what you just said.
It's a new technology. I've had it happen on a couple of occasions. Other people have probably had it happened. I'm sure some targeted individuals claim that they've had it happened, but we're also we're all TI now. We're all targeted individuals. When you put your opinion out there, a like or a dislike, they're going to play stuff that you dislike on purpose to get your attention. So if you click dislike anything, you're giving it bad reviews, and you're feeding into a positive feedback, not a positive feedback loop, but there's echo chamber.
But not only that, I would like to really hone in on the first precept of what you were going for. And let's take it with that they're trying to subvert you into this frequency that's lower. And then they're taking on the other end to put up sky fence, whatever you want to call it. They're literally netting us in a enshrouded frequency that is keeping us from the ethereal conscious.
This is why.
You're right. Let me finish this out. And the reason why I say this is because after 20-something years of doing ministry, the worst thing and the only thing that I've seen as a root cause of all suicides is detachment. They don't feel, and I'm going to really emphasize that word, they don't feel attached to anything, that nothing cares, no one's there. People go from suicide to using the word suicide to killing. When they say suicide, they want you to listen. When they say I'm going to kill myself now, they let you know you didn't listen, or they don't feel you did. Doesn't change your reality none. And that's where I really think this is the most harmful is, this attack on the living part of us that yearns to be attached to the original conscious. What say you? I'm done. Thank you for allowing me that space.
Anybody?
No, that's the key to everything is belonging, and Yeah, so we were talking earlier about fear and death, and all fear fundamentally is based in the fear of death.
Yeah.
All of it, right? All of it is because we're in a matrix, and these avatars that we incarnate in, they have constructs. Number one is stay alive. Number two is reproduce. And so that's how we're
squirrels want to live. They want to live.
Well, that's how we're controlled, is through those two fundamental drivers, right? Through fear, and that's why pornography is free, right? Is that we're kept in this sub-state of reptilian fight or flight consciousness and scarcity consciousness, not even looking at who and what we really are, because we're just trying to stay alive and reproduce and shop. Or should I say consume?
Yeah, and it's all consuming everything else. So when you figure out your God is an all-consuming God, and there's a wick on both ends, and you're in between the olive branches, then that's really transcendence, and you can understand Melchizedek and how these higher layers of higher currents, galactic sheaths. I mean, if we're able to reincarnate as a dog, which is pretty important on Earth, I would have to say that someone could be reincarnated to be a bow shock. Now, all things in the Earth and the biosphere are constrained by the number 4. That's like the 4 winds of heaven. That's the grandfather, grandmother, and the great, the 4 directions.
Fundamentally, it's birth, growth, decay, death. Those are the seasons, right? The 4 seasons of the year.
And that's what produces bilateral symmetry. Yeah, it produces the bilateral symmetry. But if Jesus were to build many rooms, or go to a place to build many rooms, I mean, or if something is in the Bible that's holding back these winds, like the cherubims talking about holding back these winds in the heavens, because they knew about these heavenly winds. They knew about the drawings and all this stuff, the firmament in the heavens, the waters, the layers of water, pre-water, post-water, heavy water. There's a billion different types of water. Literally, that's why it's too soon to get into the episode on water. Yeah.
So there's a point at which you talk about the 4 seasons, and if you look up Egyptian calendars and stuff, there's a point at which some of the Egyptian calendars talk about having 3 seasons.
Okay, I can give it to you both, right? The 4 seasons are the 4 diagonals of the cube, the three planes of X, Y, and Z. The 4 seasons are the 4 components of time. The 3 planes are components of space. They are the octahedron. The octahedron fluxes into the vector equilibrium. It fluxes through the icosahedron to the dodecahedron, back to the icosahedron, back to the octahedron, and cycles through that process. And that is the breath of the compassionate, through which piezoelectricity functions, is that breath. It's where electricity is created.
Now take what you just said, Chris, and adjust that to each and every house. See what I mean? That you could very well, thank you, that each and every house, let's say right now we're in a 4-season quadrant where the 3 are being played into the 4. But what happens when the 4 goes into the 3? What if that is the return of that measure in the time that they recorded in Egyptian history and other cultures, that there was only 3 seasons? See what I'm getting at? Maybe what happens, and this is just yes. Now, what if we're going to go into the house of Horus, and all of a sudden we're back into the house of Egypt that now has 3 seasons again? And I'm seeing a stretch of seasons by a month to a month and a half right now.
I agree.
Yeah,
easily.
They're definitely not normal.
Look at these.
So if you look at that, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead, Brian. You were talking.
I'm just going into the finishing. I'm just going to the finishing touch of the fact that what if the stretching of it is when we're literally in the time that all books are saying that the 4 meets the 3 when we're in the circular of all things.
It's like warm up into November, so it's like the shift.
I was sorry, I got distracted by your background music or whatever was on. So ultimately it's nodal, toroidal node, helical viscosity, helical umbilical, toroidal node. It's the vortical Dougherty coordinate system, the Dougherty set. And you got Dor, we were talking about a lot in this, and I was talking about that last night. Dor, Dougherty, Dorji, the Vajra is Dorji. You know what the Dorji is? It's the Vajra. And also a band. But I show this too on a lot of the episodes.
My favorite band is Mobius.
Dorji. Mobius? Nice.
They've got greatest hits out. This I really love.
The Dorji is lightning, thunder, plasmoid, Indra. Basically the symbology of Indra. But Indra's not worshipped because we learned that our connection with water is too strong. I think India learned that our connection with the water is too strong, so too many people can control it and fuck with people, so they don't worship Indra. And even though Indra is the god of all gods and the god of heaven, I'm still trying to dig into all that. I'm curious because I was like all gung-ho about the dragon, the water dragon, and like places at the bottom of the sediment of meandering rivers, beginnings and endings of rivers, and ultimately alluvial plains, and the mouths. Yeah, the mouth shed, because it's all nutrient rich. It's all nutrients. Kicking around those diatoms that have been eaten by all of the whales to make it possible to fertilize Florida from the Sahara every year. Rain down the sand. Now, this episode has been about lightning, and look at the plasmoids here. It does the same. You see the same structure inside of all the sprites that we were showing off. I'm going to close a couple of these windows.
You want to know what I see Indra's net as? Is that fundamental trinity of point of perception, a point of focus, and by definition, creating those 2 points creates a center, which is the pineal gland. So the point of perception is perceiving the field of the collective. The focus is what you're focused on, right? And through that process, you are projecting perspective. And that's all that really exists. And it's all inside the cube, and then the diagonals of the cube is that point of perception, the point of focus, and the median, right, in the center, which is never the center, because when it's in the center, it's at source. It's always a proportion from center. And that's phi, right? And it's always symmetric, and that's pi. And it's always at the 4 seasons, in one of those 4 seasons of birth, growth, decay, death, is
right.
Fundamentally is Euler's E.
I can't help but get to the idea of how when bodies transcend and die, and sacrifices for water, and how we used to be such a sacrifice culture, and we all of a sudden forgot about it after 2,000 years when we were in our messianic cults that were spreading around the land to kill their firstborn to saturate your life with abundance, and it probably worked. And that's like, see, that's the problem, is that it might work, and we don't want to do that, you know. And that's why it's been such a that's why it still is such a problem and an issue around the world inside of our psyche collectively.
Well, we can repair it, buddy, because
totally.
The sacrifice happens at an individual level. Sacrifice is the work.
Dude, think about it.
That's the only sacrifice really that you're doing, is you're not satisfying desires other than learning. Most people are trying to satisfy desire, right?
Okay, check this out.
The sacrifice really is that you're sacrificing fulfilling desire for, like you talk about, benefiting future generations.
Yeah, and the sacrifices that they are doing is to do the same thing, though, but they do it with blood and death cult sacrifices. And by they, I mean, I'm talking hundreds of thousands of years ago. I'm not pointing anybody out.
I'm talking about right now. They're still doing it.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm not pointing anybody out. I'm saying that, that's what ultimately, sorry, I got distracted by another text, but look at there's power in the tail.
Yeah.
There's power in the head. That's where the dam is. The dam is in the head. Power. Think about this. Now there's power in the circuit. But
power in the path too.
But when you connect this into the hydroelectromycelial network, you realize, wow, the sacrifice of the most brightest of the best of the person, the purest sacrifice brings the most abundance, which is probably why India, I can't say, but like, think about it. We had to grow out of this sacrificial type of nature we were in, at least in the Western culture and all other cultures around the world for eons. Think of how Peru, or whatever, the Incas and the Mayas died from these hearts, the power of eating or sacrificing a heart and the blood. And like, think of this, like, this is sometimes where we go, and we can't forget this is part of the human nature of, like, literally for a long time. So we can get out of these cycles, we can get out of these chains, and that's what we do. Jesus literally helped us break out of these chains, whether it was Jesus or not, or someone faking it, and like Paul faking it and saying he was the ultimate sacrifice so that we don't have to kill each other and like our firstborns and all this other stuff, because there had to be a sacrifice that was the ultimate sacrifice, so we could be like, oh my gosh, finally we're over that, we can move on. You know what I mean? Like, this has to happen again. There has to be a phase reset, and that phase reset involves no sacrifice at all, but instead connecting to the source. Like this river here is connecting to the head, the source. And that's where all the power is and all the pressure is of the system, right there, right on that dam. I'm sure there's a dam there. You know what I mean? Look at that. Apparently this is in China, dragon-shaped river. I've seen some debunking, but I've also seen other pictures of the river. See, this one says Portugal, but my point being, studying living systems and how they move, they never do a straight line, and almost always they create the sacred Om of the three with the tail. Almost always. Doing fractal branding and working with high voltage current, moving through many different multiple mediums, have created hundreds of ohms that pop out, because it's just a natural way, that is a really efficient way. It's almost a heart. See the heart? That's the efficient way to move charge. And the meandering has to happen so it can switch currents to stay alive and push and demand and revitalize and revivify its cycles. Otherwise it's stagnant. And we know what happens with stagnant water.
Yep. It putrefies. Have you studied Victor Schauberger's work in understanding exactly the longitudinal vortices that create the meander in the first place?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
See, I'm a civil engineer, and
I honestly think
I still don't understand that shit.
I honestly think I've taken it to several hundreds of new levels, because of the nested vortices. When I show the fish, the work that I do with the fish, it might be in the file here, and I never even got to Terrence's shapes with the electricity and the magnetism, but that's his work, so I don't want to infringe too much on it. So I'll let you get everybody hear it out of him, because he's planning a big art show, and so am I. So
that's that pinch point that happens in the rivers too. That flash point, right? Is the pinch point in your Dougherty set happens in those longitudinal vortices.
Yes, I'll show you. I'll show you the exact image. I can draw hundreds of thousands of images, or I can just show you one that's already sketched out if I have it in here. Actually, you know what? We'll go to...
I loved it. You're talking about 2016, that Nobel Prize?
Well, I lost the cog, man. I always wanted to be on a Nobel Prize up until Obama got one. I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing, piece? But then when I saw that, the dude spinning a cup of coffee for 500 grand, because that's what it boils down to. That was his half of the take, $500,000 of $1 million awarded prize of Nobel. And his jackass is spinning a cup of coffee to tell me this is the universe. I'm not even kidding. How about, like right now, I'm choking on pizza, even laughing about it. It's insane.
All right. Well, apparently, okay. Yep, this is it. All right. So here's the logarithmic scale invariant digital root mapped up into quaternion filaments. There's an infinite amount of them. They go infinitely inward and infinitely outward. That's why creatures can grow larger and smaller scale relative to the charge distribution of the galactic structure. Now, the golden mean is a solution to geometric progression. Nothing can progress from nothing can progress outward from a system geometrically unless you use phi. Phi is the scale parameter for projective geometry. When you do projective geometry, you can't do projective geometry without using phi as the scaling measure to go outward from the source. So that's what I mean by this is scale relative, it has scale relativity and scale symmetry. Scale symmetric systems are the systems of the most advanced neural networks. And I hope someone out there hears this and puts this together and creates this so that we can start seeing our own sin and our own wrongdoing as a galactic creature and feel and empathize and be like, oh my gosh, to the point where we don't even need to cry anymore because we knew how bad we were and we changed our ways. That's what's going to happen. And it's called the New Jerusalem, and it's almost here, baby. 1,000 years.
Very good. Love it.
Thank you.
I agree with you more, dude. That is absolutely what's upon us. Is what judgment is not. It's self-judgment, you know. But everybody that I've been trying to convince, I know you guys have too for a long time, of what's going on. They can't pretend anymore. They're not going to be able to pretend. When that veil drops, they're going to see everything for what it is. That's what the second coming is, and what Jesus Christ was, is the truth. I am the truth and the way, and the only way to my Father's kingdom is through me, and that's what we're doing, is we're going to the new kingdom through truth and not following the lies of it.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. And there's no us versus them because we're the same creature. Yeah. That's how I help us describe ourselves to each other, because I deal with them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Them, us versus they, us. I deal with us.
Yeah.
I deal with us every day. So do we all. Stop ignoring us. Stop ignoring the collective us. We are here. We have a difference. We can talk to people. Nowadays, you can reach any scientist by their email, any plasma physicist by their email. If you need to use me as a reference in the work that I do, because the geometry is there and you want to talk about it, we're going to prove morphic resonance through the geometry of the Dougherty networks and the Dougherty set. And it's just a matter of showing Rupert Sheldrake what's happening. There's the meniscus, there's your eye, love is watching, there's your Bessel function, shock waves of a bubble, beautiful, your toroidal, you can see the wings, the collapse, the cavitation. Oh my gosh, the sub-nested vortical chambers inside here, the Zitterby Wagung creating all the life.
I got wood.
This is a beautiful
when you brought that up, go ahead.
I'm glad
when you brought that up in the beginning, that looked like the Eye of the Sahara. And then Raymond put on the video about that birthing of a star, which again, look at the Eye of the Sahara. Now then you have all of the cultures talking about the birthplace of mankind or something happened in Africa. You look at the Eye of the Sahara and they're trying to say it was a meteor hit it. And I'm just looking at all the evidence, like what we're even looking at here, which reminded me of, looks like a jellyfish, you know what I mean, exploding the hydrogen bomb at the end of it. And I'm looking at if one form of creation is that way and all forms of that very same type of creation are the same way, then obviously something about that Eye of the Sahara was a creation point for something. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, we talk about it in our episodes. Yep, that's an electrical event, an electrical excavation, an electrical arc.
They're trying to say in modern science that it's like a meteor hit it or something like along those lines. I'm seeing it as not an outside source. That's what I'm conferring with. It's something that was born there or merged there
It
from
all
that.
happens through binding. The birth and birth, that binding processes. That's what religion really is to rebind, right? Is when you incarnate to rebind your soul, right? This is what Revelation 1:8 is really talking about is quantum entanglement and binding. I am the Alpha and the Omega, all that is, was, and never will be, is speaking to the number 9.
Yep, and all that quantum quackery and that people can't understand things, it's all just electrical. It's all just induction, and it's all just all induction.
Piezo.
Yeah, it is piezoelectric on all scales. We are in a superfluid, and using the super geometry, the super geometry simplex of the Dougherty set and the Dougherty network. Oh wait, where are the other images? Why are they not attached to this one right here?
Because it's a new Facebook.
What? Seymour. Where's the other images?
It must have been important.
Well, they're my images, and I was showing how, you know my images. Look, this is the center of it. It's that it all depends on the throat, the thickness in the air. Out of thin air becomes thick air, becomes manifested. And that's what spells and spelling and like really getting into the universe is, which is why we were so afraid of it, because it works. And linguistics, you're absolutely right. Linguistics of sound. And women are so intuitive. Women are so intuitive that when this ionosphere keeps coming down, they're going to keep speaking the truth, and we're going to be scared as fuck. Literally, the women are going to be the ones speaking the truth, because that's what happened last time during the last illumination period.
Well, if you look at if we can do that, I'll go wholeheartedly with you on this. If we can come to this term, and I'm not trying to put a condition on it other than state of fact, is that the feminine movement of the truth will be the saddle horse for what's going on. Whether it comes from a man or a woman, it's going to be that feminine attachment, that feminine conduit.
Without a
And
doubt.
That's precisely why I got Lynn Claire involved, is she represents that.
Yep.
Yes. Oh, God bless you, an angelic state.
Amen. Yeah. This is going to happen, and the children are having visions and speaking to the adults and showing the adults. This is a friend. Look at this, dude. Lyndon Gledhill. I asked to become his friend, but he creates frozen cymatic sculptures. Dude, can you imagine wearing a pendant of that? So I want to get him. Yeah, different frequencies.
Oh, my.
Yeah. Can you imagine the implication of this? So we told him to put microfibers in there so you can see the subnested vortices frozen in there with gold leaves or different nanoparticles.
Or even, or sprinkled particles. Yeah, because if you nanoparticle it, it would definitely conform to the energy that sealed it.
And they're super weird because you can see them. Or if you put like a colored particles, then you could see them as red vortical swirls in here that are the counter space of the whirling that produces the shape here that you see and witness.
I tell you what this looks like? You guys have seen them bugs in amber, right? You know, the mosquitoes and all that. That looks like the clearest form of amber. You know what I mean? Like sealed in that frequency. Wouldn't that be cool if like that would be exactly what we could do with things, like put certain things in there. So let's say, buddy, like wolves, you know what I mean? Or there's a certain thing that you like, that could be amplified in that factor and have those subatomic particles in there almost in that configuration simply because of the sound that went with them. Maybe I got too deep there. I'm sorry.
That's where we're going. It's all sound. It's all acoustic. It's all acoustic healing. It's all our bones produce the blood. So you got to work out. You got to walk. You got to move. You got to get a rhythm. You got to get that beat. You got to get that breath work. You got to get that. Your DNA produces better babies the more healthy and the more intentional you live. I believe that we can show this on a scale, and I'm sure there's already been studies that show this. When you have a more intentional pregnancy versus non. We've gone into this topic and it gets dark and gloomy, but I don't know.
On a happy note on that, I'd like to add this, that I think one of the coolest off-branch things that I found in all my research lately, bumped into, straight up just bumped into it, was the science behind people taking pictures of themselves. Doctors were taking pictures of, like Buddy when he was 10. He was perfectly healthy up until the 12-year-old accident. You know what I mean? And they were showing Buddy pictures of himself at 10 years old. And they were doing these certain energy influxes in there, putting out these certain frequency influxes. And it was actually by looking at yourself in a healthier state caused you to be healthier in your state now. And they did this on several different factors. People that had diseases, people that had injuries through traumas, and every time across the board, these people's DNA itself was harmonizing to the pure self they once were. And
it's
that was just
tangled in the photograph.
yes, thank you. The resonance.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that was amazing. Isn't that crazy? It was the good word, entangled. The energy was never gone. I mean, that just blew my mind that when we look at the snapshots of time, so all of us do it seems like here, but we bump into, the things of what once were, once is to be, and what is now. And we have our visions and stuff. But think about that those are just echoes of every possibility that ever could be from the beginning. There's nothing impossible.
Yeah, nothing's impossible, and but there's some things that are more improbable than others.
A good way to put it. What's probable? Nothing's impossible, but what's probable?
Right.
That'd be a good way to assess what's going on right now, because that's kind of where we're at. You know, what is the probables of the course that we're on? You know, if your train's going to run on a tracks and you're on it, you got a probable. You know what I mean? The problem. We're at that point where we're at a track that's running out, and we got to change the tracks.
Yeah, humanity's on the track that the truth train is on, and the truth train is barreling towards them.
Yeah, amen. Are we going to align with it or not? That's really where humanity's at right now, and that's why I say it fundamentally comes down to figuring out, and everybody on every bit of aspect, and most people that don't have education in the way understand this point that it is a living universe. And when we get there, then I think we can have healing begin on our planet.
Yeah, there's ways there from every religion. They all talk about it. So
yeah, but the fact is that they're all focused there. You know what I mean?
You can talk about it on every level, on every scale, with every religion. Now, where it's hard to talk about it is with mathematicians.
Oh God!
Bad joke. Sorry, dad joke.
No, I got thrown out of the church for talking two different talking points that literally got me almost ostracized. Like, oh, you guys can't talk to that guy. Is one, I talked about the Holy Spirit being feminine, in the fact that you negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive is a function of everything seen and unseen in the universe. And two was the fact that everything was created from somatics. It was created from the living word. Now, the Bible itself, I mean, like we're talking about drives it home 90-something% of the way. It talks about the living word. But when you talk about the fact that the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, or the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, which I think is really the B and not the T. So, because the B is the binder, and you break everything down, and you can go to every note through the B. So, that being said, that's why I say we start at C and end in C, and the B is the last one to be seen. But we got it B diminished. So when I talk about the fundamentals that way, they threw me out because it can't be that way. They only see it as the flesh and bone of Jesus Christ in the flesh, the Father, you know what I mean, in the flesh. See, nobody can get away from that rarefaction, that it literally comes from a being that was being long before there was form. And that's where I'd like to end and have you take off from there, buddy, if you would.
Well, you can see the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, da, or do, and
the different plates.
Well, it's really strange that my last name is Dougherty, Dougherty, and it's Irish, and that's my birth name, given name. My dad's, last name, fraternity or whatever, fraternal name. So, what I want to say to this is, there's an infinite amount of complexity inside of these fields, and these fields are they are what Brighton talks about as the neural networks. I'm trying to remember. They
interface has certain intervals in certain patterning. So one pattern has to come after another. They all have order.
Yeah.
And this is something that is very fundamental in elementary explanation of what we're going through right now. We're going to explain to the world is the fact when we come out of polarity, the polarity of thinking, and we go into field harmonics, then and therefore have we matured. When literally the line of thinking understands there's not a polarity to it, right or wrong, but there's complete and incomplete. Do we have connectivity or do we not have connectivity? Therefore, is the field complete or not?
Let me, it's all open. Everything is open. There's no closed circuits. There's no closed circuits. And this is the thing. It always wants to close its circuits. It being nature. It being motion wants to seek stillness, and stillness wants to seek rest.
And that's where you get the energy. Where
And
it
that's
wants
what
to close the circuit, right? But you don't close it for it. That's where all the neutrinos are. Is when you close the circuit, you lose the ability to extract the energy.
The circuit closes upon cessation of motion of the living being.
Through plasma.
But it continues to thrive and live and subside in the universe.
When one octave meets the other, that's where you have circuit. When you've got the fifth measure meeting the sixth measure, or the sixth meeting the seventh. You know, that's your circuitry. That's why I'm saying the 360 doesn't mean that it's touched to the same plane. It's actually touching and creating that field circuit between two different intervals. That's all I'm trying to emphasize right now. And that's what these schematics that you've got up on the board are. They're showing you the triangulation of the actual key to how it's being done. And you can't subvert from it.
These are progressive Chladni patterns. Now, as you progressively turn up frequency, it becomes these patterns in successive order on a plate. This is Chladni patterns. Now, this is cymatics in that it is vibration becoming symbol, or sound becoming image. And this is all over the Native American clothing, all over forever, until we got to the point of we've always had filigree and festoon and on our fancy work and on our tables, and the more articulate and the more attention to detail that was put into the piece, the better it makes us feel when we look at it. We need to get back into that type of mentality where Gothic cathedrals. I don't know what was going on in the world while those were being built, but we might be going back into another phase of dragon architecture, because I think that's a fact. That's Electric Universe architecture. You can go on Facebook, check that out. But Electric Universe geometry, this is the rheology and rheometry of the magnetohydrodynamic geometry, which is the flow and the vibration and the fluid of it creates these different undulations. Now, this is why we're going to change into a different mindset collectively and being as a body. Because when you go, this is different than this configuration, but it's the same amount of sand. And then you go, and you get higher and higher and higher. You get systems. This is self-assimilating systems, and through resonance. And now, if the planets are aligned like this at this state right now, which probably looks very similar to the local chimney that I was talking about, and there's a Z pinch at the center, and the sun's there, and it's a filament. Next, it's going to go, and the planets are going to rotate past each other and turn into a whole different galactic circuit. And this could be the circuit that it was before when we had two suns. So this is what I'm saying. When you watch these Chladni patterns vibrate and change violently from one organized system to another like that, that's what we know is going to happen. And that's why in the religion of in India and different types of Vedic traditions and things like that, they have this in record, and in China too. And it's like the Western civilization just like came out of it in a different haze through the vortex, you know, and the Hebrews through Moses.
But it's in our DNA, bud.
It's in everyone's DNA.
It's recorded in our DNA, and this is part of a primordial fear that we all have that none of us really understand. It's part of that fear of death, right? That trauma is recorded.
It is. Religions are most likely part of that fear of death, so that we have a solution. Because there's cultures that bring out their dead and they literally bring out grandma and their kids and their dead ones, and they clean them off and they dress them up and they take pictures with them every year for their birthday.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And
that's one of the things I'm interested in terms of cremation, and actually having your bones go through the burning process, because burying them here, your DNA is created in the bones, and all of that memory stays here. So your frequencies are left here, and why the Indians cremate. That fascinates me because the bones are really important.
Sorry guys, this episode got cut short and there wasn't an ending, so thank you for being here on episode 29 of Transient Luminous Events. Thank you very much. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your weekend.
riding or whether we're driving, as long as I'm riding with you. It don't matter whether we're riding or whether we're driving, as long as I'm riding with you. It don't matter whether we're riding or whether we're driving, as long as I'm riding with you. It don't matter whether we're riding or whether we're driving, as long as I'm riding with you. I don't wanna be the person to burden your emergencies at first hand, urgencies at second hand, supplying demand, to find a definitive intervention for man. Not a division but a source code, not a kiss and a toad and it turn into a prince, not a turtle in a herd, not a fairy tale, not a narrative, not a nursery rhyme, not an aeroplane. All I wanna play with is real life intangible truth. Parallel to perfect tearing up a curtain, tearing up my hair again, Nancy Kerrigan, fair skin, hairpins, nails, her tailspin, sonic speed. Honestly, all I need is the good weed and a beer. All you wanna say is that my empathy is empty and I beat you with a curse word. Verbs are pressure where the wound bleeds. In order to swoon me, a spoon feed. Come by, I killed him with the curfew option. Adoption of property, the bippity boppity boo, the vapor that comes out of you. The people are robbing you of your spirit cause you have none. Pursue the one with me and I will do what you need me to do. And I will do all what you need me to do. I will do all me and me, and I will do what you need me to do. Do, I'll do what you need me to do. I'll do, I'll do, I'll do, I'll do, I'll do. Around, all I am is infinity. All that you can see, all that we are, all that we go to, all that we are rearranged into.
Geometric View is a Loveiswatching product. Loveiswatching being. Thank you for doing that. Keep your eyeballs out. Pay attention. There's a lot going down this year. Be vigilant. Be mindful. Be insightful. Be loving. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being kind. Share the love. Spread the love. Become the love. Amen.